We may even have a special guest every now and then. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at pragertopia.com. This is only available to Pragertopia Plus members. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to pragertopia.com or click the banner at dennisprager.com. Did you know that one of the largest U.S. flags in the state of Georgia stands proudly in Pure Talk's parking lot? To honor that flag, Pure Talk is supporting America's Warrior Partnership in its mission to prevent veteran suicide. The transition to civilian life can be difficult, especially in this economy. Access to housing, employment, and even their earned VA benefits can be difficult. That's why Pure Talk proudly supports America's Warrior Partnership and its mission to prevent veteran suicide. You can join this fight when you switch to Pure Talk's 5G service and support this great charity. Now through the end of the month, they'll match every dollar donated. Choose a wireless company that shares your values. Upgrade your cell phone service to America's most dependable 5G network for just $20 a month. Dial pound 250 and say Dennis Prager, and Pure Talk's U.S. customer service team will help you make the switch. Again, dial pound 250, say Dennis Prager for superior cell phone service. That's about half the price of Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, and help a vet in need.
Welcome back to the Town Hall Review. I'm Hugh Hewitt. The political prosecution that we have been watching could well backfire. In the wake of the all guilty verdicts, President Trump brought in $70+ million in small dollar donors. That was in the first 72 hours alone. More than 1 million small dollar donors, 30% of whom were new to politics. And they came after the verdicts in his Manhattan trial. These numbers are, for anyone who knows anything about politics, absolutely stunning. And yet we've crossed a bridge, turned a corner, however you want to put it. This sort of thing is not supposed to happen in the United States. We'll turn now to Carol Platt-Liebau, president of Yankee Institute, my colleague on the Salem's editorial board. I should note, the managing editor of the Harvard Law Review in the Obama years. She was a guest of Seth Leibson on AM 960, The Patriot in Phoenix.
Why don't you just riff for a few moments what you've been thinking about the trial as it was going on and what you thought when it culminated?
Well, sure. When it culminated, I was mostly sad, a little bit angry because injustice is something that should make all of us angry in my view, but mostly sad because I did feel in some way as though we had crossed a Rubicon. Our country has come along for almost 225 years without our feeling the need to prosecute political opponents. And it's one of the things that actually separates a constitutional democracy from a banana republic. And you want to talk about, for example, why Rome fell, why Julius Caesar. It's because if people feel as though once they lose an election, they are liable to be prosecuted, thrown into jail, or worse, that's the kind of thing that happens in China. That's the kind of thing that happens in Venezuela. It isn't the sort of thing that is supposed to happen in a stable constitutional republic. That is deeply unfortunate because you really can't have a functioning civil society if people don't have confidence in its foundational institutions. And so for both those reasons, I felt sad. I'd like to say I was surprised, but generally with juries, you kind of get out what you put in. And, you know, what was put in, thanks to this judge, was something that really would have made it, I think, quite remarkable if anything but what happened happened.
I wanted to run this by you. We think that the crime he was guilty of to ratchet these expired misdemeanors up into a felony, we think it had to do with a violation of federal election law in an accounting execution. But I don't think that we even know, or if it was ever even proven to the jury, that Donald Trump had the knowledge requirement of knowing what was being done in that business entry or those business entries. I don't know that that was even ever proven.
Well, it wasn't proven. And the other thing that was so pernicious is that the judge forbade the testimony of Bradley Smith, who was, of course, the head of the Federal Elections Commission.
Right.
And Bradley Smith was prepared to testify that there was no campaign violation, which is, in fact, why the FEC, the agency with the jurisdiction to go ahead and enforce election law, chose not to worry about the case. They didn't take the case because there was no federal election violation. And the thing that was also incredibly damning unfairly so, was that the judge allowed the jury to know that Michael Cohen had been subject to legal process, had been convicted of campaign finance violations.
Right.
And once they do that, it makes it a lot easier for the jury to, in a sense, impute his guilt to Donald Trump.
Right. Right. Good point. There's a couple lines that I think are going to dominate. And it's always interesting when you have fundamentally liberal commentators kind of coming to the justice of Donald Trump's side. I'm amazed at this. I did not know this until this morning when I read it in the New York Magazine. Eli Honig, who's a legal contributor to CNN, he wrote, "The charges against Trump are obscure and nearly entirely unprecedented. In fact," quoting directly, "no state prosecutor in New York, Wyoming, or anywhere has ever charged federal election laws as a direct or predicate state crime against anyone for anything ever." I use that because while we talk about the unprecedented nature of actually charging a former president with a crime in the first place, it's important to think about what the crime was. This crime would never be charged. He's no one above the law, no one below the law is nonsense. He's the only one who has ever been charged with a crime like this.
Well, yes. In a lot of ways, you could argue that he has been treated in a way that is below the law.
Yes.
I would point out that New York State went ahead and extended a statute of limitations for Jean Carroll to bring her case,
That's right.
such as it was.
That's right.
And, that starts smelling a lot like, in a sense, a bill of attainder,
Yes.
which is also forbidden by the Constitution,
Yes.
where you're not allowed to pass a law deliberately to target a specific person or past behavior. That is never the way that things have been done in the United States. And, there's that expression where, fool around, find out.
Yeah.
And it's a road none of us wants to go down. But once you open this Pandora's box, it's very difficult to stop the slide. And no sane society would ever want a system in which the ruling party prosecutes its political opponents in the party that has been thrown out of power.
So this is really the biggest part of the issue, and you're ideal to talk with about this. For many years, people like yourself and myself have lamented how politics has invaded so many institutions, and it's not really healthy to have politics everywhere all the time, whether it's professional athletics or you name it. You just can't go anywhere into a politically free zone anymore. But the one thing about the judicial system was that was the backstop against politics. And now it looks like it's become another adjunct of another political hustings. That's the danger here.
It is, and it's a profound danger. And it's not just a danger to the right. And that's the thing that I wish some of our friends on the left would understand and speak up about, because this really can't be stopped by people on the right unless they decide they are forced to engage in the same tactics and sort of secure a mutually assured destruction situation to incentivize the left to stop this. And so if it is going to be shut down without having to resort to that sort of unfortunate stuff, the people who are going to have to do it are the rational people on the left. And I'm not even talking about politics. I'm not talking about who you pull the lever for, whether you're a Bernie Sanders person or a Biden person or a Hillary person. I'm just saying if you are a person of goodwill and common sense and wisdom, because to remain free, it requires wisdom. It requires prudence. And sometimes it's required political sacrifice. You think about Gerald Ford, he probably lost the 1976 election for president because he went ahead and pardoned Richard Nixon because he understood the danger that it creates for our system if you have presidents sitting in court. I personally have some serious concerns with some of President Biden's conduct, but no one should be eager to see him a prisoner in a prison because it's bad for our system. Full accountability, full transparency, a full airing of the facts so that history may judge accordingly, absolutely. But, it's the same reason that Trump didn't go after Hillary, that Obama didn't go after, the Bush CIA people. It's every president until now has had the wisdom and the understanding to see this is just something that you can't do if you want to keep what we have.
Coming up, President Biden issues an executive order on the border.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully.
When the town hall review returns in a moment.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that is MediShare. And maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save many families up to $500 a month. And that's huge. But it's also true people are way more satisfied after making the switch too. The member satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. See what you can save. This is a very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. Call 844-45-BIBLE. That's 844-45-BIBLE. 844-45-BIBLE.
For anyone living with everyday aches and pains, here's a question. What are you missing out on? What are you not doing that you wish you were? What would you do if you felt better? Well, the answer is likely a lot. So I'd like to tell you about Relief Factor. It's 100% drug-free daily supplement, helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, it's been incredibly effective, even life-changing for so many people. Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients. It doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. In about 3 weeks, you'll know if it's working because you'll feel the difference all day, every day, whether it's neck, back, joint, or muscle pain. If you are looking to feel better, live better, give Relief Factor a try. Go to relieffactor.com or call 800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF, and save on your first order. 800-4-RELIEF. Here is to less missing out and more living life with Relief Factor.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
My name is Bob Corbett. I'm 55 years old, and I like to tackle life every single day. My life's never boring. I make sure of that, whether we're gardening, back at the pond fishing, running a tractor and moving dirt, playing rock and roll music. There's always something to do around here. I've been taking Balance of Nature for about 5 years. I feel absolutely phenomenal. Balance of Nature helps me feel better. It's just that simple.
Make a splash into summer with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first order, plus a free fiber and spice supplement with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Hurry, this offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHARLIE.
For anyone living with everyday aches and pains, there's lots of things you can try. Tough it out. Bite the bullet. Grin and bear it. Or you can try something that has helped so many other people. Relief Factor. Relief Factor is 100% drug-free, a daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Developed by doctors, Relief Factor uses a unique formula of natural ingredients that address the inflammation where it starts. And Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain for a short time, it helps reduce or even eliminate it all day, every day. Wherever you're hurting, your back, neck, joints, or muscles, in about 3 weeks or less, you'll see a difference and rediscover what it's like to feel better and live better. So if everyday pain is affecting your life, don't go with the mind over matter approach. Try a Relief Factor instead. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4-RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Welcome back to the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. President Biden this past week issued an executive order claiming it was intended to secure the border. Properly speaking, it was a, quote, presidential proclamation to suspend and limit entry. President Biden was not particularly impressive.
Today, I'm announcing actions to bar migrants who cross our southern border unlawfully from receiving asylum. Migrants will be restricted from receiving asylum at our southern border unless they seek it after entering through an established lawful process.
And those who have been watching the administration on the border crisis were not impressed. Louisiana Senator John Kennedy joined Senate Republicans in a press conference.
President Biden is in trouble politically. He's polling right up there with fungal infections. Part of the reason for that is that he gave in to the loon wing of his party and he dissolved the southern border. Now, 5 months before an election, he has to appear to be willing to do something about it, hence this executive order. The first question I would ask President Biden is this. It's a little late, isn't it, Mr. President? It's a little late. You can't make this cat walk backwards. The president's border policies have allowed 8 million people to come into our country illegally. If you try to come into our country today illegally, you are a sucker.
I turn to a border hawk running to represent a border state in the U.S. Senate, Arizona's Kari Lake. Tell me how much the border matters in this race.
Well, I mean, the border is affecting not just Arizona. It is affecting every single state. I was talking to a senator from Alaska, and he said the fentanyl crisis is the worst in my state over any other state. And that fentanyl is coming through Arizona. 27,000 pounds of fentanyl was seized in the last fiscal year. Almost half of that came through Arizona and was seized in Arizona. So that tells you how big of a crisis that is. And it's a huge issue. And Ruben Gallego, this radical, I hate to use the word, but he's a Marxist. He's not really even a Democrat. He has been part and parcel to every step of the plan to decimate a good border policy that we had in place with Donald Trump and bring forth this complete disaster on the border that Biden basically orchestrated. Ruben Gallego has said the border wall is stupid and dumb. He would never, ever, ever vote for it. Yes, he said ever 3 times. He's supported sanctuary cities. He wants to pump money into all of the problems the open border creates, but he doesn't want to put anything into actually stopping people from coming over. And that's why this, everything's on the line. It's very clear in this election who to vote for. If you like what Joe Biden has done, if you like the open borders, the crashing economy, if you like crisis overseas, national security that doesn't exist anymore, unsafe streets, then you're going to love Joe Biden and Ruben Gallego, because Ruben Gallego votes 100% in alignment with all of this disastrous policy that Joe Biden has pushed. So there's a lot on the line here in Arizona. We want to get the majority back in the Senate. We want to make sure that we're ready to go when President Trump gets into the White House to start turning this nightmare around. That's what's on the line come November 5th.
Kari Lake, my friend Seth Leibson has endorsed you as I have, and everyone is working for you around the clock from the Salem side. I am curious if the party is coming together behind you and how you feel about the fundraising effort, the small donor effort, and of course, Ruben's getting so much dark money, even though, I mean, he really is a radical. He is way out there on the left wing of the Democratic Party.
Oh, I mean, he is way out there. He marched to defund the police rallies. He wants to get rid of the filibuster for every reason. He tried to get rid of the filibuster back, during the Summer of Love when they were trying to push the George Floyd legislation that would have defunded the police nationwide. This is how radical the guy is. I think the party's coming around great. We have huge support. We did an event the other day in Goodyear, Arizona. It's one of the fastest growing suburbs here. Great community. And they said, we're going to have 250 people coming to hear you. I said, fantastic. We get there, and they had 760. And I tell you that to you not to be boastful. I'm telling you that because the people are activated. The people who have never been involved in politics other than maybe occasionally voting are now saying, sign me up, get me involved. I will start knocking doors, making phone calls. I just need to make sure that we turn this thing around because my family can't take it anymore. That's the sentiment in Arizona. And I'm reaching out, obviously, to every Republican. I think it's very obvious that we Republicans have to stick together the next 5 months.
Absolutely, we do. I was in Arizona with a bunch of Republicans who are 100% with you. We're on in Tucson, we're on in Phoenix, we're on in Prescott. How can those people help you, Kari?
Well, thank you for asking. First of all, start talking to your neighbors and friends. In 2020, they had us all masked up and 6 feet apart. This time, we have to start talking to each other. Make sure your friends are registered to vote at their current address. Talk to people who maybe are independents and maybe you don't see eye to eye with, and they're suffering too. It's time we bring other people into the Republican Party. We have a great story to tell. We have the solutions, and we need to make sure we bring people into the Republican Party. It's going to be the Republican Party that saves America once again, and I want to grow this party with independents and even disaffected Democrats.
Coming up.
This wide open border is a scourge upon our country and certainly upon Joe Biden. It's terrible for our national security.
When the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt returns in a moment.
More than 80 million Americans count on AM radio stations like this one for news, important weather updates, and the opportunity to discuss and debate important issues facing our country. But some people want to remove AM radio from new cars being manufactured, and we can't let that happen. The Senate Commerce Committee has approved the AM radio for every vehicle, Senate Bill 1669, and moved it on for a vote in the full Senate. It also faces action in the U.S. House. Your U.S. Senator and your representative in Congress are in your home state during the annual congressional recess this August. When you see your senator or congressman visiting your community, please tell them you want their support to keep AM radio strong, vibrant, and available to you in your car. This is your opportunity to stand up and be heard, or just text AM to 52886. That's AM to 52886 to tell Congress to support AM radio.
Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. I start every day by reading through the stories at Daybreak Insider. In just 10 minutes, I can zip through 10 stories that matter, 10 stories that help me start my day and help shape where I go with the Mike Gallagher Show. You and I know the mainstream media is filling the airwaves with a left-wing take on the news of the day.
This is 60 Minutes, and we can't put on things we can't verify.
You won't put it on because it's bad for Biden.
It's critical to find a news source that tells the truth. Well, that's Daybreak Insider. Daybreak Insider is that source. I get it in my mailbox every day. It helps shape the stories I bring to you. It's a look at today's most compelling stories, how they are covered by the media, and provides responses from key conservatives in media and politics. Over 250,000 people get Daybreak Insider by email daily, and it's available to you at no cost. Go to daybreakinsider.com and simply plug in your email. That's daybreakinsider.com. In 5 minutes, you will be the most informed person in the office. That's daybreakinsider.com.
A lot of us are struggling to keep up with everyday bills. Everything is still really expensive. If you own a home, call the good folks at American Financing. They're saving their customers an average of $854 a month by tapping into their home's equity and wiping out high-interest credit card debt. $854 a month is like a $10,000 raise. Credit card interest rates are insane, and most folks are still carrying a balance from month to month. If you're only paying the minimum every month, it's going to take you years to pay off that debt. There are no upfront or hidden fees to get started. So call American Financing and take care of that today. You may close in as fast as 10 days, and if you call today, you may not have to make next month's mortgage payment. What are you waiting for? You've got nothing to lose. 888-686-8030. That's 888-686-8030, or visit AmericanFinancing.net.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Everyone knows the old saying, nothing lasts forever. Well, whoever said that obviously never bought a timeshare. Not only do your maintenance fees and assessment fees go on forever, they go up forever. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Over 10 years ago, I was a timeshare salesman. But once I saw the dark side of the business, I quit. I started helping folks get out of their timeshares. Since then, we've helped over 30,000 families by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answers. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757. 800-213-5757.
Welcome back to the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. The border crisis that our nation is facing today is unlike anything we have faced before. Whether it is 10 million, 12 million, 15 million, 17 million, the number of border incursions in the Biden years alone, we are facing a genuine national security crisis. And it is a crisis of our own making, or I should say, it is a crisis of Joe Biden's making. Steve Cortez served with the Trump campaigns in 2016 and 2020. He's out with a short documentary on the border. And he was a guest of Dennis Prager.
Tell us about the documentary and how people can see it.
Yes, please go to my Twitter is the easiest place to see it right now. So it's at Cortez Steve, Cortez with an S at the end, at Cortez Steve. It is pinned to the top. We're going to launch on Facebook as well this week. And Dennis, it's a short documentary. It's only 18 minutes, so I'm not asking for a long commitment. And it's free, of course. I want everybody in the country, I hope, to watch this. I went to the U.S. border. I did something that President Biden doesn't do, nor does his supposed border czar. Kamala Harris, they don't go there. I went there and talked to regular Americans, to law enforcement, to understand and investigate what are the consequences at America's front door, which has been flown wide open by Joe Biden in the most reckless way. What are the consequences for them? They're at the epicenter of the crisis, and then for the rest of America, and what needs to be done. And I have to tell you, Dennis, look, I investigate the border from afar a lot. I read, I pore over facts and figures about the border. I thought I knew a heck of a lot. There's no substitute for learning on the ground from the people who are dealing with it every single day. And I'll give you one specific example that I didn't know about before going there. We highlight this in the documentary. American children, teenagers mostly, are being actively recruited in very sophisticated ways by the Mexican cartels, which have now become even more powerful and even more sinister because of what Joe Biden has done for the cartels who do control their side of the border. There's operational control on the south side of the border. Unfortunately, it's not the government of Mexico. It's the cartels of Mexico. They're recruiting teenagers, largely from the Tucson area, and they're very sophisticated about how to reach them on social media, offering them vast sums of money, at least for a young person, to effectively become human smugglers and drug smugglers. Drive your car down here to the border a couple hours away. We're going to pay $2,000. It's only going to take an afternoon of your time. And unfortunately, those efforts are succeeding. And the sheriff there told me he has arrested over 100 minors, American children, who are interacting directly with some of the most vicious people on earth. Think of how dangerous, how frightening that is, unbeknownst to their parents, of course. They target specifically poor kids. But that's just one aspect of what I learned by going there, and I hope to educate the American people on this phenomenon. This wide open border is a scourge upon our country and certainly upon Joe Biden. It's terrible for our national security, for our economic well-being, and for our street safety. And those poor Americans who are on the front lines, unfortunately, they deal with it in the most acute way possible. And I think it's important to give them a platform and give them voice, and that's why we did this documentary.
That story I did not know.
Yeah.
Of course, I'll watch it because you made it. But that story is so sad.
Yeah.
Recruiting young Americans. I mean, really young.
Right. And the reason they recruit them is because if they get caught, they're juveniles, right? So the criminal justice system doesn't come down with full weight against them, but literally kids. I mean, American
So what
children.
happens? They go to the border, they meet somebody who gives them what? A person or a drug?
People and or drugs, often both. Often, it's okay, you're going to get 4 people.
All right, so where does the kid take these persons or these drugs?
And then they give them an address, and they go to safe houses. They go to wherever, generally in the Tucson area. And by the way, Tucson has been devastated. I didn't know this. I hadn't been to Tucson in some time, but Tucson is a lovely city, wonderful place, great mountain vistas, wonderful climate. Tucson, in a lot of ways, downtown now, it looks a lot like San Francisco, and I mean that in the worst way.
I did not know that about Tucson either.
Yeah, so I didn't either, Dennis. Again, this is why there's no substitute for being.
You're right. You're right. That's correct.
And Tucson has these so-called tent cities now, all over the city, urban camping, the human excrement, all, the open drug use. I was appalled. Now, they have a very liberal leadership there, unfortunately, very leftist leadership, because even though overall Arizona is a swing to red state, the city of Tucson is university town, is very, very blue and very leftist. And so they actually not just tolerate, but in some ways even facilitate and encourage this kind of nonsense of camping outside. The climate is relatively friendly for it, open drug use everywhere, and all the attendant crime that goes with it. So this wonderful city of Tucson, which used to be much more sort of a Western town with a frontier feel, is a lot more, unfortunately, like downtown San Francisco right now if you go there, because, Dennis, it's so close to the border that in many ways it's the jumping off point. It's sort of the logistics hub, if you will, for the drugs, particularly fentanyl. And there is a massive, massive fentanyl problem all over America, of course, but it's more acute. It's worse in Tucson. Why? Because the flow of drugs is so overwhelming, and they're cheaper there, of course, at the initial sort of depot, if you will, into the United States. But of course, it's nationwide, right? And I also highlight Lake and Riley. I found through my polling, I'm doing through my C4, my advocacy organization, extensive polling of the battleground states. And we found, for example, that in Arizona and Wisconsin, these other battleground states, people don't know the story of Lake and Riley. They simply don't know, because the media buried it because it doesn't fit their narrative. What happened in the middle of broad daylight on a seemingly safe campus at the University of Georgia, where a beautiful 22-year-old American nursing student was viciously killed in a totally preventable crime. People in Georgia know about it. We pulled it there, not surprisingly. They're very aware. but in the other swing states, not very aware. So we want to spread awareness, not because we're trying to scare people or because we're trying to exploit the death. No, because we want to prevent any further such crimes. Her killer was arrested twice after breaking into the United States over Joe Biden's open border, committed that first act of criminality, was then arrested in the so-called sanctuary city of New York City, not turned over to ICE, not deported, was then arrested in the so-called sanctuary city of Athens, Georgia, which is another university town and a very liberal jurisdiction within a generally conservative state, arrested there again, not expelled from this country, not incarcerated, and unfortunately free to roam the cities and streets of America, and it resulted in carnage for an American family. And we don't want that to happen any longer.
I didn't interrupt when you spoke about Tucson being a university town.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is fair to say that the bigger the university in your town, the more excrement you will find on the streets of the city.
Yeah.
They seem to have a truly deleterious effect on the cities in which they are located, these big universities. Is that fair?
I think it's totally fair.
Coming up.
Americans have a legacy bias in favor of the judicial system of the United States.
A few more minutes with Steve Cortes in the final segment of the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. Stay with us.
This is Seth Leibson for townhall.com. 80 years ago, President Franklin Roosevelt delivered the largest mass prayer in history up to that point, a radio broadcast for our boys in Europe, about to embark on what General Dwight Eisenhower described as the greatest amphibious assault ever attempted, D-Day. In that prayer, FDR described our fight as a crusade and asked his fellow Americans to pray to God for his will to, quote, prevail over the unholy forces of our enemy, close quote. Those prayers were answered with those boys at Point du Hoc and other beaches. As put in the American Patriot Almanac, one commander told his men only two types of people would stay on Omaha Beach, those dead and those going to die, so they'd better push forward. In some units, 90% of the troops were killed or wounded. But the assault managed to cross the beach and drive the Germans inland. We had established our toehold in Northern Europe, and the war would soon be over. God bless those boys, those men, and this country. I'm Seth Leibson.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-932-8603 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-932-8603. That's 800-932-8603. What do you have to lose? Call 800-932-8603. Again, 800-932-8603.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-583-0141. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-583-0141. That's 800-583-0141.
Tax Relief Advocates, real solutions for real people.
Welcome back to the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. Earlier in the program, I mentioned to you the record-setting flood of small dollar donations to Donald Trump that followed his conviction. When you add them in with the major donors, Trump campaign is saying it's raised more than $300 million since the verdict. Does that flood of money reflect a similar surge in voter support that we will see in the Electoral College tallies on Election Day? Well, only time will tell. Let's catch a few more minutes of Dennis Prager with Steve Cortez.
Can you cite the felony for which he was found guilty?
No, I don't think any honest person can, right? That's the point here, which reveals that at its heart, this was a corrupted process. And not just because these sham charges were just invented, but even beyond that, the timing and the location of the trial, all of that together combines a confluence of factors to reveal that this was a poisoned process from the very beginning. And it is clear, I think, that Donald Trump did not ever commit a felony. And if there was any crime at all, it was an incredibly minor crime. I don't believe there was, but I'm saying that even if you're trying to give the most benefit of the doubt to the prosecution, it was an incredibly minor civil bookkeeping offense at its absolute worst. Nothing remotely rising to the level of a felony. But Dennis, let me give you a word of warning on this, okay? As clearly as you and I might see this, and probably a lot of your audience, I do a lot of polling of the battleground states, and I think it's really important for us to not put our head in the sands and to not be Pollyanna, especially those of us for whom most of our social circles are people who think like we do, okay? The reality is Americans have a legacy bias in favor of the judicial system of the United States. They still want to believe that the courts and prosecutors and judges are basically fair and just in the United States. And I think that's because of this wonderful legacy that we had previously in this country. They don't want to believe that the system is corrupted. So when I poll in the state of Georgia, same poll, by the way, where I have Trump up 10, okay, so substantial double-digit lead for Trump in Georgia. I also asked, and I don't do push polling here, I ask very objective questions. I asked, are the prosecutions of Trump a sincere attempt to punish criminality or a politicized targeting of Trump? That was how we worded it. So I think, very objective wording. It did break in favor of Trump only by a little bit, Dennis, and it broke down basically on party lines. 43% of Georgians said that it was sincere. 47% said that it was not, and the rest didn't know. Among women in Georgia, 45% said these prosecutions are sincere. Only 42% said they're political targeting. So Trump is 3 points underwater.
What about men?
No, and men basically they reverse that. But here's my point, and I don't say that to depress anybody because Trump's up 10 in Georgia, and he's going to win Georgia. But here's my point: the phrase "convicted felon" carries weight with undecided voters, with people who are not as politically astute as your audience is, Dennis, and it will matter to them. Now, is it going to be determinative? No, I don't believe so. I believe Trump is going to win. But is this a negative? It is.
Thank you for joining us for the Town Hall Review with Hugh Hewitt. If you enjoyed the program and the podcast, do us the favor, please, of sharing it with a friend. Let me point out, you can get this podcast, Town Hall Review, Dennis Prager, and my own podcast, Highly Concentrated Hugh, all at the Salem Podcast Network. Special thanks to executive producer Russell Shubin, producers David Pouchon, Alex Perez, Adam Ramsey, and Dwayne Patterson. I'm Hugh Hewitt. Thank you for joining us.
The Cal Thomas Commentary is brought to you by Values Through Media. Now here's syndicated columnist Cal Thomas.
You knew it was coming. Like the morning sunrise, the stories have started to appear in the liberal media that some voters won't vote for Donald Trump after his conviction at the New York mock trial. Like clockwork, to mix analogies, the New York Times, which only the elite read, and I have to, had two stories yesterday. Two. One was headlined, "Conversations with nearly 2,000 voters showed a small number, had changed their minds about Donald J. Trump." How small a number? The headline doesn't say. The other headline read, "Small share of voters appear to shift toward Biden after Trump verdict." Sounds like the same thing said two different ways. Note the words "appear to shift" and again the word "small." Expect to see more of this, as we do every presidential season, as the liberal media attempt to shape the narrative so only Democrats win. They've been doing it for decades. The big state, the big media, academia share the same worldview. Keep that in mind and think for yourself, not only this fall, but all the time. I'm Cal Thomas.
For a free copy of today's commentary, visit calthomas.com or write us at Values Through Media, P.O. Box 373340, Key Largo, Florida 33037. That's P.O. Box 373340, Key Largo, Florida 33037. Please specify the date and subject. Your tax-deductible gifts to Values Through Media help support us. Listen again next time for the Cal Thomas Commentary.
You know, it's true. Difficult times have a way of focusing us. We have to think about what matters most when it comes to our spending, our healthcare. This is why so many people are joining Metashare right now. Medishare is a trusted way to save up to 50% on your monthly healthcare costs. More than 400,000 people have already made the switch. It's pretty obvious why, too, especially now during this challenging season with healthcare costs and out-of-pocket expenses going up. Medishare can save you a lot of money. The typical family saves $500 a month. Medishare works, too. It's been around for 30 years. Members have shared more than $5 billion of each other's bills. There are different options to choose from to fit your budget. I'll give you the number here in a second. And if you call, you can get a price within 2 minutes. Maybe now is the perfect time to make the switch and start saving. Here you go. Call 855-90-BIBLE. That's 855-90-BIBLE. 855-90-BIBLE.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Everyone knows the old saying, nothing lasts forever. Well, whoever said that obviously never bought a timeshare. Not only do your maintenance fees and assessment fees go on forever, they go up forever. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. Over 10 years ago, I was a timeshare salesman. But once I saw the dark side of the business, I quit. I started helping folks get out of their timeshares. Since then, we've helped over 30,000 families by getting them out of bad timeshares. If your timeshare agreement goes on forever, if you were told timeshares are a great investment, or your maintenance fees will never go up, you have questions, we have the answer. Give us a call. I guarantee if we take you as a client, we'll get you out of your timeshare or you'll pay nothing.
Call Wesley now for your free information kit. 800-839-8484. That's 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
WGUL and W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. See them online today at mymoneyissafe.com.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Celebration and condemnation of the rescue of Israeli hostages this weekend.
Israeli officials say the 4 hostages rescued from terror group Hamas in Gaza are in good medical condition and were being reunited with their families after being taken to a medical center near Tel Aviv for evaluation. The Israeli military says the 1 woman and 3 men were rescued in a daytime raid Saturday. The Council on American Islamic Relations, or CAIR, is not happy with the rescue of the 4 hostages. The pro-Hamas group condemned the Israeli raid Saturday that led to the rescue. The United Arab Emirates labeled CAIR a terrorist organization in 2014, a decision that the Obama administration opposed. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Healthcare delivery experts say patients in this country need more help these days dealing with a system that is growing increasingly complex.
They say growing insurance complications, doctor and drug shortages, and a lack of communication all make life harder for anyone dealing with a serious or chronic illness. Outside care, help with the rent or utility bills also may be harder for patients to find. More care providers and employers are offering help guiding people through care, a practice the federal Medicare program has started to cover, but that assistance has limits.
Correspondent Jeremy House. Seriously overdue credit card debt is at the highest level in more than a decade, and people 35 and under are struggling to more than people in other age groups to pay their bills. The share of credit card debt more than 90 days overdue rose almost 11% in the first quarter of this year. And the Washington Post's new CEO and publisher facing questions about whether he made recent efforts to conceal his involvement in a British phone hacking scandal. This is SRN News.
The Secular Crew is looking forward to the debates.
When you see the way Joe Biden talks, why would you put him in this situation? You put him in that, you could figure out a way out of it. You put him in that to hope that Trump does what he did that first debate. He just acts like such a jerk. Yeah. Like Joe Biden doesn't say anything and he wins. I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. At least this debate.
Secular. Afternoons at 5, right before Brandon Tatum at 6 on AM 860, The Answer and TheAnswerTampa.com.
They say you're nothing special, that I should look around. But I say you're the greatest friend that I've ever found.
You know, to my dad, his car is a trusted friend. He's kept it running great for over a decade. Guess I'm a chip off the old cylinder block. Well, that's why we both choose to go to Parts Plus Auto Parts stores.
You never taking care of you.
Hey, for all the reasons you love your car, there's Parts Plus Auto Parts stores.
Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. Surroundtampa.com.
For today, sunshine, high 95. Tonight, patchy clouds, very warm and humid, low 80. For tomorrow, humid, considerable clouds in the morning, then a blend of sun and clouds in the afternoon, high 93. Tomorrow night becoming cloudy, humid, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
The financial content, including all financial data, editorial content, and advertising provided on this program, is intended for personal use and entertainment and does not constitute investment advice. Financial content that appears on this station does not mean this station endorses such content. In addition, this station makes no representation that financial information is accurate, complete, or timely. This station does not accept any liability for any investment decisions made on the basis of this information. It is strongly recommended you obtain professional advice before proceeding with any investment.
The following program is sponsored by Prosperity Group, LLC, and is pre-recorded.
Welcome to the Prosperity Hour. Join host Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group as they guide you on your path to prosperity in retirement and life. Learn how to safely protect your money from market risk, creating your own pension-like income with their safe money strategies and implementing their tax-free plans. Call Greg or the team at 864-989-0176 or email Greg at mymoneyissafe.com. Visit mymoneyissafe.com and start now.
Welcome, listeners, to the Prosperity Hour. This is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group, and thank you so much for joining us as we record the show on Wednesday morning. But we are throughout Florida. We're in the Greenville area, Chattanooga area, and I just am thankful that people are listening, and I appreciate that. And any questions or comments that you have that you want to ask us, you can. Folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. That's 1-800-440-0434, or go to mymoneyissafe.com. That's mymoneyissafe.com. I want to remind our listeners, if you would like to get a copy of our book, Prosperity Plan ABCs. Annuities bring control safely. Okay, so basically, it's talking about how annuities can bring control safely to your retirement accounts, and so it's important to understand what's available there, and that's what the book's about. If you'd like to get a free copy of the book, let us know. We are planning on making it available digitally as well. Folks, we are going to talk about something that's very interesting. A lot of folks are very concerned with taxes if you see what's going on. And by the way, for our listeners, I've got a copy of the book on there, and you should be able to see that on the Facebook page. If you'd like a copy of the book, that's my first official book. I've done a couple of forwards on some books, but you are more than welcome to request a copy of that. And folks, we are talking about strategies that are really important, but let me explain something to you. Folks, we are upside down in taxes. I'll put the debt clock up in a little bit. We are upside down in taxes to the point that we are losing money. If we ran our business the way the government runs money, we'd be broke, in trouble.
Just like the government.
Just like the government. Just like the government. Yeah, if we ran the money like the government, we'd be just like the government. But we don't want to be like the government, right? We want to be in the world, but not of the world. And that's literally what's happening. But right now, people are inadvertently making Uncle Sam their beneficiary because they don't have a tax strategy. They don't have a way to rescue their 401k or their IRA. And nobody's talking about dollar cost averaging. Nobody's talking about market cycles. No, because the market's just supposed to go up, just like Irving Baxter told everybody. He was the Dr. Fauci of economics. Two gentlemen that have proven very credible. And he told everybody, and by the way, he won the Nobel Peace Prize after he was disavowed by telling everybody that the market would always go up. So everybody jumped and put their money in the stock market in 1929. And guess what happened 2 months after he made that horrific statement, the market crashed. And you know how long it took to get back? 24 years. So, folks, I want you to stay tuned and continue to listen to the show. I've got Patty James, who's here with me as always, who provides wisdom and balances me out and just does such a great job. Folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. That's mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, you know, we're talking about all of this stuff. We're saying don't make Uncle Sam the beneficiary of your accounts. But if, you know, who's in Washington, D.C., who's running the show right now? Is anybody there?
Who's the puppeteer or who's the puppet master?
Oh, wow. Somebody's there supposedly running the show. You know, I'm not sure if they know where they're at, but who knows? You know, does anybody know where anybody's at these days? You know, well, yeah, I could go there, but I'm not going to. I just had a great morning this morning because I drive a Tesla and I'm rethinking that, to be honest with you.
Only when you can get in it do you drive it.
Well, that's a good point. Folks, do you realize that driving your car by the internet is very daunting? Because when the internet doesn't work, guess what? You can't drive. So let's just get everybody to buy electric cars. And in that way, somebody can shut the switch off on us, right? Think about that. Or what happens if the grid goes down?
I was thinking the same thing.
Or what happens if in California, all the Teslas plug in and then the grid just breaks down?
And they already have brownouts.
Yes, they do. Of course, it's not being reported. So guess what, folks? I'm rethinking my strategy. The reason I got the Tesla was for taxes. I say 50% that went towards my taxes versus going to Uncle Sam, right? See, I don't want to donate money to somebody who's not even related to me. He's not really my uncle. Okay, we've established that. So, folks, seriously, you've got to have a tax strategy right now. It's not just about growing your accounts. I mean, if you look at the draconian tax strategies that they're thinking of implementing, that Biden is thinking to implement, no more step up in basis, taxing your no more capital gains on, you know, losses, and it's just insane. All right. So, Patty, please give me your thoughts. I've said a mouthful or something like that.
I think that we are under an illusion that we are in a high tax bracket right now. And exactly.
It is an illusion.
It is, because it wasn't in the 2000s. It was the 22% was the same. At that point, it was 27%.
Yeah. So taxes were 6% higher.
Okay.
In 2000 than they are now.
Exactly. And if the economy does what we are afraid it may do, and the market have what some are calling a correction, when other may call something else.
Right.
During the last time that we had anything like that happen, taxes were in the 99%.
That's right.
Bracket.
Right.
Now that's not the 22 rate. That was more like the 30 something or the 45 something, but still they were that high.
Yeah, they got actually to 94%.
It's so
94%. That's crazy.
It is crazy. So what we're talking about is not, like you said, to not have the government / Uncle Sam be the beneficiary of all that money.
Right.
And let us talk to you about how to help you with that. And you know, sometimes I scratch my head and I think, because I asked you this last week, and you were much kinder to the government than I was. Did you think that maybe they realized what they were planning when they started the 401ks and the IRAs? And because that's when you and I first started getting the business, and they were supposed to be the save all for us.
Right. I think that, how do I say this nicely? Okay, let's talk about a couple of bait and switches. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group. And have you made Uncle Sam the beneficiary of your 401k or your IRA? Now, I'm being facetious, but I'm really not. If you don't have a tax plan and you don't take into account that right now you could lock into the highest guarantees I've ever seen in history, talking 8% guaranteed for income, regardless of what the market does. Call us at 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. By the way, on Facebook, I am showing the U.S. debt clock right now.
And for those of you that have been to a seminar or are coming to a seminar, take your X-lax before you come. Greg loves to put this up right when you sit down. He says, don't let this ruin your dinner.
Yes, don't let it ruin your dinner.
But okay,
we are almost at 35 trillion in debt. Okay, I want to point this out. This is on our Facebook page right now. You can go to mymoneyissafe.com. You can go Prosperity Group at Facebook. Here's what our tax revenue is, Patty. It's at $5 trillion. Do you know what citizens are paying in taxes? The average revenue per citizen is less than $15,000 a year. So in the logic of the politicians, they got to tax that. But if they double the taxes, now we're at 9 trillion, which means if they double taxes, we break even for a while. But if they break even, they're going to spend more money and they're going to charge us more taxes. So right now, U.S. federal debt to GDP ratio in 1960 was 52.81. Now it's at 122.28%. It's about 60% more.
Almost triple.
Yeah. It's nuts. So folks, right now, if you don't have a tax plan, you are making a mistake. We have a tax calculator on our website. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. You can plug in your information. You'll see what your tax liability is. And hey, but I just want to leave you with this. The market's up today, so everything's okay. All right. The market's up so far today. So everything is totally okay. There's no problem. The debt's eradicated. You know why? Because your 401k went up by $88 this morning. And maybe by the end of the day, it'll go up about $1,000. So everything's okay. Don't worry about the thing. Okay. Every little thing is going to be all right. That'll be the song we'll play right here. Don't worry about a thing. Little reggae lingo. So folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. If you want to order a copy of the book, Prosperity Plan ABCs, order that book. We have copies now. We'll have some digital things for you to get as well. So folks, stay tuned. We will be right back. 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com.
I got this morning, my with the rising sun, really the first. That is pure and true.
Brandon Tatum sees people jumping on the bandwagon.
What happens is, and I've seen this happen so often, people get on the Trump bandwagon because he's so popular that they feel as if they can piggyback off his success and they can become famous and they want to be in the limelight and all these other things. And then when the rubber hit the road, they ain't really built like that. They're not really about that life.
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 6 on AM 860, The Answer, and TheAnswerTampa.com.
This is Dennis Prager. I am excited to announce the all-new Pragertopia Plus. You can listen to my show whenever it's convenient for you, all commercial-free and all on demand. Now with Prager Plus, search topics, guests, and segments all the way back to 2010. And now a truly exciting new benefit, my monthly online video get-together for Pragertopia Plus members only. This is where for an hour each month, Pragertopia Plus members get an exclusive chance to ask me anything. That's right, anything. It's on video. I'll be talking to you and answering your questions. We may even have a special guest every now and then. I've never done this. Submit your questions for me at Pragertopia.com. This is only available to Pragertopia Plus members. This is our chance to connect like never before. Go to Pragertopia.com or click the banner at DennisPrager.com.
Welcome back, listeners. I just played a song by Bob Marley. And, Bob Marley practiced not worrying about a thing. That's what the song was. Don't worry about a thing. He had certain ways of not worrying about a thing. He kind of rolled up his sleeves, and he rolled up some other things too. And I'm not a fan of that. It didn't bode well with his health. But, that's actually what a lot of people are doing right now. They're medicating themselves from reality in all sorts of ways. And guess what? Sticking your head in the sand's not going to make things go away. So your taxes are not going to disappear because you're not thinking about it. Patty, we talked to somebody, a lady that we spoke to. What did she tell us? She says, "Oh, I don't even look at my account. It's too depressing."
I know. And surprisingly enough, and the longer that we do this, not as surprisingly, more clients do that than not.
It's surprising. It is. Yeah,
it's shocking.
It's
and
shocking.
People that you don't even think would be like that do. That they're very tedious about other things, etc. They just don't look at it. I haven't looked at it since last year, or since I started it, or whatever.
Well, the problem, and I've said this many times, I said that when this market, not if it goes down, when this market goes down, it's going to be a problem that people are unaware. They're not going to be ready to deal with.
Because it's going to go so quickly that they, not only themselves, but your advisor, your broker, as good as they are, they're not going to be able to pull that switch fast enough.
No. And that's exactly the problem that exists. And I think it's going to be ugly when that happens. I'm gonna put some stuff up on our Facebook page about the tax risk that we're facing right now. It's huge. And people need to be aware of what's taking place, because so many people are not aware of what's going on. And so, it's important to understand what's the goal? What's the goal here? And that's the problem with all of this. It's really bad when people are not prepared to deal with these things. We got a comment from one of our Facebook listeners, Tom. He says, "Uncle Sam will only overuse our money."
Absolutely.
Golly, that's not like Uncle Sam.
Overuse and misuse.
Is he like the creepy uncle that shows up at your retirement party? You haven't seen him all these years, and he shows up and he feels entitled to have some of your money because he's been your uncle. And what has he done for you? Boy, I could really take that some places right now.
Yes, you could.
The creepy uncle. Okay. I've got something that I'm showing on Facebook right now, folks. When you are looking at this, are you looking at things from a micro point of view or a macro point of view? And macro means reduces taxes over your lifetime. Micro means reduces it this year. Do you know that most CPAs are looking at things from a micro approach, not a macro approach? So it's very important to understand what we're talking about. I'm going over some numbers right here, folks. This is going to be frightening when I tell you this, okay? And I'm just going to make it easy for radio listeners. If you have a $500,000 401k or IRA and you live to age 90, and our tax liability stays at 25%, and you made 5% a year, and you reinvested your IRAs earning 5%, you live to age 90. Patty, if you were thinking this, I know you know the numbers, obviously, but $500,000, what do you think a reasonable amount that Uncle Sam would be able to get out of your IRA deferral? Because you were supposed to be in a lower tax bracket, weren't we? And how much would you give Uncle Sam?
It's shocking.
I know.
I mean, the first time I saw this, I was like, that's just wrong. There's some key factors, because you're putting in the fact that it's not just the 500,000, because the 500,000 is growing at that 5%.
Right.
And he's not going to tax just that 500,000. He's going to tax the growth, every little penny. So it is amazing. The first time that I saw these numbers, it just totally floored me. To answer your question, I was not looking at it correctly at all. I was looking at purely the 500,000. And if I was in X amount tax bracket, okay, then what were you talking about? Like maybe, like 125, 130, okay. That would hurt. It would hurt my heart and I would hate it. But when I saw that other number, I was like, oh, that's just wrong.
So Patty, we have a rich uncle. His name is Sam.
Yes.
He gets 400 and almost, we'll just round up $460,000 out of our $500,000.
So out of that 500,000 I earned that I worked very hard for, he's going to get 456,868.
That is correct. Now think about this. If we go back to 2000 and we were at 6%, ooh, it gets better.
Better for who?
For our rich uncle. He gets richer. Yeah, it's called the rich get richer, right? And we can actually run a report for folks. If you'd like to run a report, go to our tax calculator on our website, 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. I'm not going to take time to scroll through, but he would get about $540,000. So wait, he gets more than our account is worth. More than our account is worth right now.
Fair, doesn't it?
It's not fair. It's not fair at all. So we can actually run this report that shows the potential tax impact of your account to show you. And if you'd like a sample report on that, we can get that to you. Go to our website, mymoneyissafe.com. Now, here's the problem, Patty. People have an opportunity to take advantage of the highest guaranteed returns I've seen in my career for income. I believe it's going to be a window that maybe we've got a couple of months left and people need to act. But if you've got a 401k or an IRA, we can show you a strategy that'll give you a guaranteed growth for income of 8%. 8%.
And that's 8% compounded.
Compounded.
Yeah.
And that beats 10% simple, just to say, because there's companies that are offering some of that. They're not going to be around long. But it's not just the amount of that they're compounding. It's what percentage of your income, what percentage of your account that you're getting. Right now, we've got accounts. So let me explain this to everybody that's listening to me on this show right now. You have people that have annuities that you bought before 2021. You need to give us a call because you have an opportunity to give yourself a raise, either income raise or account value raise. Let me show you something else too, folks. I posted this on Facebook. If you have $500,000 in an IRA, would you rather pay $450,000 over time or limit that to $125,000? Take advantage of the Trump tax cuts right now while you can. We got another year left. I'm not sure I'm going to say this, and I'm not saying it to be, a fearmonger, but this is a concern. I hope we have an election this year. That's my thoughts. I hope we have an election this year. And I hope the ship gets righted. Okay. Because if not, the ship's going to flip. And I don't want the ship to flip. Okay. Folks, you can reach us at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, you take that same IRA and you say $1 million. Are you telling me, if I understand this, that we are practically giving all of our $1 million to our rich uncle, Uncle Sam?
It sure sounds like it.
And if taxes get worse, which most likely they will, he gets more than we do.
Absolutely. And there are two ways to look at this. Most of the people that we're meeting with now have earned the majority of their retirement funds and want to know how to make them work for them.
That's right.
Okay. The other side of that are people that they can, as usual, the young not take advantage, but are able to learn from their elders.
Right.
Us being the elders. And that is know your 401k. And what I mean by that is if your employer is matching that money, okay, I understand that. But if you're putting money in there and he's not matching or he's only matching a certain amount, do not put more than what he's matching. See us. We can tell you ways that you can make that money grow for you better to where you're not going to pay taxes on it in the future.
Patty, that is such a mistake that people make. I ran into an engineer, came to see me, and he was overfunding his 401k by 13%. and his wife loved to see his 401k. So she was already counting the money. And I said, it's not yours. And she didn't get it. And I says, it's not yours. So he continued this path. So this person will probably retire with $1 million, but it's not his. Most of it goes to his uncle, and he doesn't understand that. Listen, folks, we're almost out of time this segment. Give us a call at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. You can also order the book, The Prosperity Plan ABCs. So give us a call, folks. We'll see you. Be right back.
No, fall in love. No, fall in love with you. With wicked thing to do to let me dream of you. What a wicked thing to say.
Ladies and gentlemen, do you have a 401k or an IRA? Do you realize that right now the government is targeting your 401k or IRA right now? Do you realize that Uncle Sam, your non-related uncle, could actually make more money on your 401k than you do if you don't have a tax plan? Folks, if you want to see how you can do that, how you can add 20% into your account, give us a call at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Tens of millions across the European Union voting in EU parliamentary elections today in a massive exercise of democracy that is expected to shift the bloc somewhat to the right and redirect its future. War in Ukraine, the impact on farmers and migration of various climate policies are some of the issues weighing on voters' minds as they cast ballots to elect 720 members of the European Parliament. Norway's sovereign wealth fund, managed by Norges Bank Investment Management, says it will vote against Elon Musk's hefty CEO compensation package during Tesla's annual meeting this week. It's the latest pushback over the size of the pay package, which was recently valued by the company at about $45 billion, but in January was valued at $56 billion. This is SRN News.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka can see what's going on.
It's a bookkeeping error in a private company. It occurred in January 2017, after the election. And somehow that's election interference. It's about power. They can't stop him unless they put him in jail.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Weeknights at 9, right before Kevin Jackson at midnight on AM 860, The Answer and TheAnswerTampa.com. Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. Surroundtampa.com.
For today, sunshine, high 95. Tonight, patchy clouds, very warm and humid, low 80. For tomorrow, humid, considerable clouds in the morning, then a blend of sun and clouds in the afternoon, high 93. Tomorrow night, becoming cloudy, humid, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Welcome back. That song that you heard is a song called Wicked Games. The first time I heard the song was by El Divo. And El Divo's, PBS, the 3 or 4 Mexican operatic singers that sing the song, love their version of it. And that was my daughter's version. My daughter, Annie Ellie, right now. And she's in Hawaii right now. We just talked last night. She has yet to understand that she's 6 hours behind me. And that when she calls me at 11 o'clock at night, 11:30, I'm going to sleep. or I'm thinking about it anyway at that point. And she's in, 75-degree weather with a breeze and perfect sun. So, but I never miss a chance to talk to my daughter. So, folks, we're talking about what happens if taxes rise. By the way, you can go to our Facebook and look at us live on Facebook, and it talks about what happens if taxes rise. So, Patty, do you want to explain the middle quintile or not right now? Because it's a little bit daunting. Here's what I want to go back to. Let's make it simple.
I like simple.
I like simple too. Let's look at this. Taxes in 2000 were nearly 30% higher than they were in 2020 under President Donald Trump. And with our present regime in DC, they probably want to double taxes. So we're back to 2000 and worse.
And the reason they haven't done that as of yet is because
the Trump tax cut don't sunset until 2025.
Perfect.
You tried to get me.
No, I knew you knew. I thought I learned it from you.
But no, I wasn't even thinking that. But you're right. They sunset.
I just want to say because they've had 4 years to do it.
They've had 4 years to do it. They haven't been able to.
That's the only reason they haven't done it.
And so that was a protection that he put in there, which is great, that people need to take advantage of now. But it's insane that we're giving the government more money than we have in our accounts. So, folks, there is an assault on your qualified money right now. And if you don't do something, qualified money is IRA money. It's 401k money. But remember, I played the song, Don't Worry About a Thing from Bob Marley. Everything's going to be okay. Because if the market's up, everything's all right. Okay?
And if you listen to the president's speech, which was, a few weeks ago, if not months, he more or less told us things were better than they had been in history.
Isn't it the same guy that said he finished top 5 in his class when the first time he ran for president? And only to find out that he was in the bottom of his class.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Well, golly, that must be fake news, what I'm saying. That can't possibly be true. It's not like I can have a 30-year career in Congress of taking everything I said, multiplying it by 0.04 to determine how much of what I said was true. Do the math, Patty. If everything is said that I say as a candidate multiplied by 0.04, that's not a good track record.
No,
I'm just saying.
Those are not good numbers.
They really aren't.
No.
So it's
But you were talking about the middle quintile when I went off on the tangent about why he had not raised taxes yet, or why the government had not raised taxes in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
And that's also
because why?
Because of Trump.
Because of the Trump tax cuts.
Exactly, which is great. But you're going to explain how taxes are 30% higher, no lower than they were in 2000.
Right, because what happened? Trump simplified things and said, okay, we're just going to give you a $25,000 deduction. You can't imagine how many people came in there and said, well, I can't use my deductions. I said, okay, how much did your deductions add up to? Well, they added to $18,000. Okay, well, do you know you've got $7,000 more deduction? Oh, see, people were creatures of habit.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you want more deductions and you're married, then create a business, have more deductions. See, that's if retirees are going to work, in my opinion, they should have a side business because they get a tax benefit. So these are things that we're talking about right here, folks. They are things that we're talking about that you need to consider. Folks, you can reach us at 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com. I have a post on our Facebook page. You can look at it. It shows the taxes were 30% higher in 2020. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that right now. So right now I'm showing, well, that's the chart I wanted to see, and now you can look at it on Facebook. So if we go back to what they were in 2000, out of our $500,000 401k, if I'm reinvesting the RMDs, if I live to age 90 and I'm averaging 5% on my money, I am going to pay taxes On my $500,000, I'm going to pay taxes of $578,000, and we'll just call it 579. So that means I'm going to pay more money than my account's worth. Now, folks, if you got $1 million IRA, do the math. You're going to pay almost $1.2 million to the government if you don't have a tax strategy or tax plan. I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to get people's attention here.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't do it, and listen, we're all dealing with the same thing, folks. We're all dealing with the same thing. And it's just like, okay, I shared with you, listen to earlier part of the show, the internet was not allowing me to drive my Tesla. Okay. Or somebody wasn't allowing me. Maybe I rained on somebody's parade. Maybe Uncle Sam kind of zapped me with the internet this morning, and I was stuck outside the restaurant trying to get it started. So I found a very nice lady at Tesla that got me to the point where I could drive and be here on the radio with you. So I want to thank, what was her name? Her name was Kira, and Kira was wonderful. And that's how I got here to do the radio show, because the internet was keeping me from getting my car going. That's the problem with electric cars. But hey, that's going to solve all of the problem. Even though lithium batteries are a lot worse for the environment than gas emissions. But, well, you know what's worse than gas emissions, Patty? Cows. Cows flagellate. So you know, we got to stop that, right? We got to put a bubble. Did you ever watch the cartoon? I used to love Superman. I was a big Superman fan. And you remember they had those cities that had like a bubble? They had all been reduced to size.
No, they're called domes.
Domes, yeah. And I think we have a dome over our world these days. You know, I wonder about that. Maybe we are just like they were in Krypton, and we're living in a dome, okay? And the Earth is flat.
The Earth is flat, and we are merely a what is it? Some of the people say.
We're a virtual world.
Yes.
Yeah. So this is all a dream. This is just like
No, this is a
JR.
nightmare.
Well, do you remember who shot JR?
Oh boy, do I remember.
Oh, remember everybody? Now, folks, I know we're dating myself. Patty and I. Patty's younger than me, and I'm younger.
Yes, I'm so much younger than him.
I caught up to you, didn't I?
I know.
I caught up to you. Look at that.
Yes, you did.
So anyway, who shot JR? So you had all of this hype going on and everything, only to realize that the whole season was a dream.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but a dream. Merrily, merrily, merrily. Life is but a dream. Well, first of all, I don't believe the Earth is flat. I don't believe we live in a domed universe. I believe that God is in control. And I do. I believe that it's Jesus that's in control. I am saying this in jest. I've considered the flat Earth. There's some interesting things. Now, since I brought it up, I think the Earth is more oval than round, but it's certainly not flat. That's what I want to say about it. Okay. Either way, I know one thing. I was just in Argentina, and I didn't fall off the edge, so it can't be flat.
It has to be longer than that. Then.
It's got to be longer than that. Oh, you know what I was reading the other day, Patty? I read an article where this, I don't know if it's Admiral Byrd, says there's a continent below Antarctica. And I'm not talking about Uncle Arctica, I'm talking about Antarctica. And Uncle Sam, just to be clear.
Just to be clear.
Anyway, he said there's a whole continent below Antarctica that's not on the map. How's that, listeners? What do you think about what I'm talking? I'd love your input on this. You know, I'm just trying to add a little entertainment value to the show right now. Okay.
Maybe that's what Uncle Sam's doing with our Texas is giving it to our Antarctica.
That's a good point, Patty. That could be that you might have found the solution why our uncle is getting richer.
Because he's got to be doing something with this money, because he's certainly not paying any debt.
Oh, really? Well, listen to this, Tom. I'm catching up to Tom's comment. Okay. We've got 13 seconds. So Tom says Uncle Sam's got his hand out. We are constantly being ripped off. And that's why taxes continue to rise. So hold that thought. We'll be right back. 1-800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
I once read a poem when snow covers the earth, that it hides the world's scars and gives nature new birth. And they say when a man turns from sin to the Lord, that forgiveness like snow covers him evermore. And somewhere it's snowing, see the soft drifting down as the snowflakes surrender to the hardening ground, like the good grace of Jesus.
Attention retirees, this is Greg Kelly of the Prosperity Group. Did you know that you could pay more in taxes than your 401k is worth? So in other words, if you got a $400,000 401k, you might owe the government more than you have in your account. If you want to figure that out, go to my calculator on our website, plug in your numbers, or give us a call at 800-440-0434. Go to mymoneyissafe.com.
Mike Gallagher here. I want to share with you an AM 860 The Answer sponsor that has done some wonderful work at healing Salem listeners. Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care. If you've been having problems with your feet or lower legs that no doctors have been able to cure, please give Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care a call or visit advancedpodiatryandwoundcare.com. That's advancedpodiatryandwoundcare.com. They specialize in healing conditions such as bunions, plantar fasciitis, or any problems with the tendons and toes. They even do custom orthotic inserts right at their office. Another area of expertise that sets Advanced Podiatry and Wound Care apart is their ability to heal those chronic wounds of the feet and legs. Their doctors treat you with the highest degree of care and compassion to make the healing process as comfortable as possible. They're so easy to get to, 38th Avenue near Tyrone in St. Petersburg, parking right in front, a few short steps from the entrance, or visit advancedpodiatryandwoundcare.com. That's advancedpodiatryandwoundcare.com.
And somewhere it's snowing, see the soft drifting down.
Welcome back, listeners. This is Greg Ellie of the Prosperity Group. The song that you heard is a couple of songs that I sang. One of them is called People Need the Lord. And the other song I sang is a song called Somewhere It's Snowing. And it is snowing somewhere. And I guarantee that there's some mountains I know I was at in Argentina not too long ago, in Patagonia, in snow-capped mountains, beautiful land, beautiful people in Argentina. It was really great. And folks, listen, we're talking, we try to make things entertaining and we try to have fun in the process. But what we're talking about is you don't want to make Uncle Sam the beneficiary of your money. If you want to learn strategies that can protect your account for market risk right now, they don't go through probate. If you also want to learn about a trust program that we have available for many of our clients, we can refer you to this program that'll save you thousands of dollars on wills or trusts. These are things that we can help you with. Go to 1-800-440-0434. One of the comments from our Tom on our Facebook, he says the government will get one way or the other. They'll either take it from us or get it from our pockets. He also says electric cars are not the way to go. In fact, cars in general are on the way to go. The black boxes have gotten so sophisticated, anyone with a computer could figure out what you did when you did it and where you were going. So I think Tom is implying that we are being tracked. Well, I think he's right. By the way, Billy, how are you? I hope you're doing well. So there are things that you can do. And, we have ideas about this stuff, but seriously, we want to protect and make sure that the majority of your money goes to your family, not to Uncle Sam, not to the government. But you have people right now in Washington, D.C., in their unbridled wisdom. Don't they show us how wise they are every day with their actions and words? I mean, it's just gotten unreal. I'm not even going to mention the name other than I saw a post by MTG, and I'll just leave it at that. You figure out who MTG is. And she was berating Dr. Faust. Is it Faust? Oh, Faust. That was the devil, right? Dr. Faust. So Dr. Faust Anyway, she was berating Dr. Faust. MTG was berating Dr. Faust. And you got to watch that video, folks, because it's not being played on TV and it's not being played on local radio stations right now. It was very enlightening. Let me put it to you that way. But I can't say any more because something's wrong with the First Amendment. It's kind of like the internet. I think the internet is messing up the First Amendment. So anyway, I don't mean to be facetious again. There goes that word, facetious or sarcastic. Folks, we can help you with your retirement account. If you want to take advantage of these strategies, if you are in the military, if you've worked for the government, we can help you with these strategies. Federal employees, we can help you with these things that you can do to protect your accounts. Give us a call at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, we've covered a lot of ground with what we're talking about right now, and we can help people reduce taxes. You know, one of the key things that I really like is our P-slip strategy. We've got a lot of people that consistently understand the value of the P-slip strategy. You know, what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's a phenomenal strategy. The first time that I saw you use it, it instantly became one of my favorite things that you do. I really like the one where a tranche is used, investors are used. It's not good for everyone, but when it is the right tool, it's a phenomenal thing to use.
You mean where a tranche or for lack of a better term, a bank-like vehicle will add 3-to-1 to your retirement account?
Yes, that is it. And the only reason people are sitting there going, why wouldn't it be good for everyone? There are some qualifying factors. One of them is age.
Right.
The other one is net worth and income. But we are able to what is the word I'm looking for? Use a similar strategy, and that is what the P-slip is a similar strategy to that.
You know what's interesting, Patty? I know a lot of people that give money to their kids, right? Because they're passing the money to their kids.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if 20% of our clients did that for their kids? You would be passing generational wealth forward. And, you know, there's certain cultures that do that. You look at Doctor Who. Yeah, Doctor Who. It was Faust. Remember Dante's Inferno? It was Dr. Faust. I think it's the same person, Tom. Dr. Faust from Dante Inferno is referring to the same person I was referring to. They seem very similar in personality, but anyway, we won't go there. So, folks, that's a little aside note. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Generational wealth. And we're actually getting ready to have an
wealth.
appointment after the show with one of the first clients we worked with on this strategy.
Oh, absolutely.
And I mean, I think all you would have to do would be to let your children know, I will not be able to do X for you, but if we do A for you, then it will supply you with this. And they would say, please, absolutely.
You know, when I was in school, I had a friend of mine, and he was talking about bar mitzvah. He's Jewish. And one of the things that really impressed me about the Jewish community is how they help their children or their friends' children to make sure that they have jobs lined up. So, for instance, this person that I went to school, his name was Todd, nice guy. And his dad's friend got him a job as an executive at Macy's. Now we're talking 1979. He came out of college in 1979. Think about the year. He started making $40,000 a year. That was a good paying job for somebody.
Good morning, doctor. How are you today, sir?
Doing well. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. You're sounding good.
Well, good. How am I looking?
I think he's ready to do a show. I see we'll be talking about death today. What a wonderful subject.
Yeah. Video's okay. Obviously, you can see the 7 stages of grief.
Yes, I can. This is going to be a downer show.
No.
Talking about death. Yeah. Nobody wants to die.
It's the great circle of life. Yeah, you do. After a while, life is like a party.
I mean, down in Sun City Center, we know all those stages. We got those memorized.
That's like you got to sign a form saying that you understand before you get your condo.
It's on the sign to the city limits. Are you kidding? We got so many ambulances riding through town every night. It's crazy.
Oh, my God. Well, I told you about I guess I told you last week, didn't I, about the patient that died with the heart attack, and the wife and I were walking down to the morgue with the body. Did I tell you that?
I don't think you did last week. No.
Yeah, and I'd pronounced him dead, and all of a sudden his hand comes out from underneath the sheet and grabs her arm and says, honey, I'm not dead. And she pushes his arm back on her. She says, yes, you are. The doctor pronounced you dead. You're dead.
Don't fight. Don't disagree with the doctor. Listen to your doctor.
Yeah. This is my big chance to get rid of you.
I would have said, you're not entirely well. Just sit there for a while.
It's a little cold down there in the morgue, you know.
Well, it's supposed to be. Isn't it?
Yeah, they drop those little boxes down to, I don't know, 40, 50 degrees.
Well, they don't want you frozen hard. Yeah, they gotta cut into you for the autopsy.
Mm-hmm. They got to work on you. And, you know, if you're going to have the pathologist make an accurate time of death, which they only do in coroner cases, then you don't want to freeze the body because that will interfere with the timing of the temperature drop. You can figure it out if you know what the ambient temperature was and what time they died. And then if you put them in the refrigerator and take them back out, you know how long they were in there and the temperature in there. So there are actually formulas that can calculate the time of death from that.
When back in Chicago, when I was doing news every day, I talked to a lot of coroners, and we got kind of chummy, and they would tell me some of the things that they've experienced in the past. And I guess it depends. If they find a body out in the woods, they have to kind of look at what worms are actually eating away at the body to figure out when it died.
Yeah, they look at the fly larvae to see, and then the different insects that come in at different stages of decomposition. So it's interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of fascinating, actually.
Yeah, and you know the flies are on you within a few minutes of death. They can smell it.
Nature is a wonderful thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, nobody I'd rather be eaten up by than some bot flies.
Well, what else are we going to talk about besides death today?
Oh gosh, I've got my usual potpourri. Let's see, Stormy Daniels is still mad because she owes Trump $600,000. Pat Sajak retired. Mexican stocks and the peso tumbled with the Lady Scheinbaum, who's a communist, getting into power. Judge in Trump trial flags Facebook post that claimed insight into jury deliberations. It's a buyer's market for boats, RVs, and other pandemic toys. Israel freed 4 more hostages. You probably heard that. And let's see. Zeke wanted
going on in Ukraine. I keep hearing things about our F-16s not performing, or they can't get them off the ground. Something, I don't know what the heck it is.
I didn't know that. Let me see.
Yeah, I was reading something about some with the F-16s. I don't know why they're not flying as much as they used to. They were assuming they would, but they're not using them very much, I don't think. Maybe too much radar, too many missiles.
I don't know. I mean, it could be. Let's see, Ukraine's F-16 problem. Ukraine is encountering hurdles that could impede its ability to fully utilize F-16 jets provided by its Western alliances. The Institute for the Study of War released its update highlighting the critical bottlenecks in pilot training, which may hamper Kyiv's defensive efforts. So it's just getting these guys in the cockpit. And this could impede. So this is, just more sensational bull.
Yeah, that sounds like the one I saw last night. I didn't read it. It was just kind of scanned the title there.
Yeah. And then I guess the Russians, they've got some kind of glide bomb that they're using on Kharkov.
Yeah, they got a glide bomb and they can't jam it, so it's doing a lot of damage.
So they finally got our technology, stole it, and put it to use. So
pretty much, yeah, they're probably using our GPS system.
wonder if Elon's helping them.
Wouldn't surprise me. I don't know about that guy anymore. He went $62 billion bonus or something like that.
Well, it's his money.
Well, the shareholders don't think so.
No, that's not true. The shareholders voted for it, but there was
who's stopping them then?
There was one shareholder who sued, and where is it that everybody files for their corporation? Connecticut, Rhode Island. I can't remember which state it is.
Delaware, usually, isn't it?
Delaware. And so somebody sued one stockholder that had, like 10 or 100 shares. He sued in Delaware to stop the transaction, and the judge agreed with him.
Of course he did. He's in Delaware.
And so then Elon said, well, you know what? We're not incorporating in Delaware anymore. We're going to Texas. And of course, there's tax money that's charged by the state on corporations and businesses. And even though Delaware is relatively cheap, I'm sure with the size of his company, that's a big chunk of change they're cutting themselves out of. But
oh, absolutely. Billions of dollars, I would think.
They don't seem to care. They don't seem to understand.
All right, Doc, we're coming up on the news here. I'll send you some audio. You get ready, and we'll see you after the weather.
All right, bud.
This is a modern conversation-based technique that makes language engaging, fun, and memorable. It starts by teaching you words and phrases. Then, sentences gradually get more complex. Soon, you're practicing short conversations about real-life topics. Babbel is created by language experts who use the spaced repetition method to help you learn quickly and remember what you learned. With Babbel, you can speak a new language. Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com, Babbel.com.
WGUL and W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. Contact Greg Ellie today at 864-989-0176.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Senator John Cornyn, the Texas Republican, says the recent conviction of former President Donald Trump in New York marks a dangerous step in the wrong direction for the U.S. judicial system as a whole.
There used to be institutions in America which people viewed as impartial and neutral when it came to our political contest, but now they become players in the game. And I think that's very dangerous, people losing confidence in our most basic and important institutions.
Senator Cornyn, formerly a justice on the Texas State Supreme Court, he was interviewed by the Salem Radio Network. European elections getting underway in 27 countries today, and the violence affecting some campaigns.
The AP had the chance to talk to one of the voters in Italy who hopes that younger people take their chance to vote. Voting is a right, but also a duty, but also an opportunity to have your say and give a direction for what is needed. The first results will be revealed after all polling stations have closed. But violence continues to overshadow campaigns in various countries. In Slovakia, there was an attempt to assassinate Prime Minister Robert Fico, and in Denmark, Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen suffered a whiplash when she was assaulted in Copenhagen. I'm Rika Ann Garcia.
Norway's sovereign wealth fund, managed by Norges Bank Investment Management, says it will vote against Elon Musk's hefty CEO compensation package during Tesla's annual meeting this week. It's the latest pushback over the size of the pay package, recently valued by the company at $45 billion. Mexico's outgoing president has pledged to press ahead with judicial reforms despite nervousness amongst investors and suggestions from his own handpicked successor that he should wait. The word from President Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador. This is SRN News.
This is a red alert for hardworking Americans who are tired of seeing their freedoms and retirement savings threatened by the globalist agenda. Wealth Protection Research is on a mission to find whistleblowers who are exposing these schemes. Real patriotic financial warriors like Jim Rickards and Porter Stansberry. They're not afraid to tell it like it is and fight back against the system. Now, with the 2024 elections storming our way, your IRA and your 401k may be in the crosshairs. That's why we've compiled our 3 favorite ideas into our Election Protection Report. You definitely won't hear any of these in the mainstream news. Get your free copy of our Election Protection Report now. Just text TRUTH to 76626. Plus, today, you'll also get a free gold investment kit from our sponsor, Augusta Precious Metals. Text TRUTH to 76626 now and get the free report and gold investment kit. The fight for your financial freedom is on. Text the word TRUTH to 76626.
Standard text and data rates may apply.
Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. Surroundtampa.com. Just when you thought your smartphone couldn't get any smarter, now you can add the AM860 app with local news, national headlines, and commentary. The answer is smart. Adding the AM860 app to your smartphone is genius. Get it now at the Apple App Store and Google Play.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
For today, sunshine, high 95. Tonight, patchy clouds, very warm and humid, low 80. For tomorrow, humid, considerable clouds in the morning, then a blend of sun and clouds in the afternoon, high 93. Tomorrow night becoming cloudy, humid, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Somebody once said, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. If you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. Did you hear what I said?
Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Bill. We got a show going on here with Ken, and we got the smell of the grease paint and the roar of the crowd. You remember that movie?
Not sure which one you're talking about there, buddy.
It was, well, it's before your time. The smell of the grease paint and the roar of the crowd. It's about an actor who kind of goes down the tubes, but that's okay.
All right.
But they don't have that much anymore. You don't smell the grease paint and hear the crowd roar. It's all online now.
Exactly.
I know.
Well, if you go to the theater, you'll still see the smell that.
Yeah, you have to go to live theater. Who can afford that?
Exactly. Yeah.
In these inflationary times. Oh, my wife's headed up to New York next week. They're going to take in a show. Spend some more of my hard-earned money. Meanwhile, I'll be at home working 7 days a week.
No respect for the doc.
No, I know. And, she said, your hairline's receding. I said, I wonder why.
We are not alone there, Doc. That was mine.
So you were talking about Elon Musk before the show getting this big payout, and you said that the stockholders were pushing back. Well, there are some hedge funds or some big money funds that are pushing back, but the vote doesn't come up until August. And my wife, who's a big shareholder in her own little way, when you're 5 foot, you can only buy so many stocks.
I didn't know it was connected to height. Okay.
Yeah, because you got to carry all those stocks around with you and make sure nobody gets them. Any rate, so they're voting on it in August at the annual shareholders meeting. And so she sent her proxy in because she's not flying down to Dallas or Houston or wherever it is. And I think the overwhelming majority of stockholders are all in favor of him getting that big package. I don't know. It's probably $56 billion.
Well,
some of it's going to be.
We just heard it's down to 48 now. I think
down to 48. It's good. Yeah. A lot of that's going to be paper anyway. For God's sakes.
Right. It's not actual cash. It's stock.
Yeah. Well, they'll probably move it into some kind of preferred stock or bonds or something that's negotiable. But there'll certainly be some, but it'll be secure, but there will also be some restrictions on how much he can let go at any one time.
Exactly. Yes. So you can't ruin the company by selling it all tomorrow.
No, you cannot. And speaking of rich boys, Jeff Bezos, who bought the Washington Post, the guy that he put in place has said that the paper's going down, and if the news people and the editorial board don't start changing their tune, they're not going to be in business much longer. So I don't know how much Jeff paid for that.
Yeah, I didn't understand that either. Why buy a newspaper today? I mean, they're all dying.
I guess it's vanity, when you're worth 200, $300 billion, what are you going to do with your money?
Well, you need something that's losing money for a tax break.
Yeah, for tax break. And when he divorced his wife, he gave her 50 billion. So he gave her a third of what his stock was worth. And everybody said, "Why'd you do that?" He said, "I can't spend 150 billion. I can't spend $1 billion before I die." What are you going to do with all this money? So I'm sure he buys anything and everything that looks interesting. But at any rate, he's a big liberal. I think he's an anti-Trumper. So WAPO, Washington Post, which is one of the newspapers that has captivated the country for decades now.
They lean left, don't they? They're already leaning left, aren't they?
Oh, they've always been a left leaner.
Yeah. Since the Nixon days, anyway.
Well, I think that their founder, wasn't it a couple, and the woman ended up taking over after her husband died, and of course, you get a woman in charge, everything's going to be.
Don't go there now.
Don't go there. Okay, we won't.
No, I think she stood up to some of those folks in Washington back in the Nixon days.
Yeah, well, I think so. But did she stand up to FDR and Truman and Lyndon Johnson? I don't think so.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
No.
But I understand it. I mean, women are supposed to have that warm, loving, caring, concerned, and want to see everybody taken care of. And that's half of the equation, right?
Well, she stood behind Woodward and Bernstein during that whole thing. So.
Oh yeah. Didn't they work for her? Weren't
they did.
They were on her staff. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you guys don't remember who they were the two guys that revealed the Pentagon Papers, in which we found out. Well, somebody found out that we really had no plan on how to win the war in Vietnam, and some other things that were being kept secret, which the military and the government does. They keep things secret. That's part of the bluffing in war and strategy, so to speak. But at any rate, that was.
I was watching a program because of D-Day, a lot of military programs on over the last week. And I was watching one that was talking about a rehearsal for D-Day that went just terribly tragic after a German submarine, stumbled upon the exercise. It was a full-blown exercise with all the boats that were going to be taking part, and they blew like 10 of them out of the water. And to this day, we cannot get an accurate count on how many people were killed. That's how much they will keep secrets at the military.
Yeah, and those were Higgins boats, I think.
Yes, they were, exactly.
The landing craft, so they could carry, 30 or 40 people. So, you had 300 or 400 people killed by the Germans. But
they have an estimate of about 700, but they don't have an exact number. Even 80 years later, they won't tell us.
No. Did you know that the German, the submariners, they had one of the highest casualty rates of any branch of any service in World War II? Did you know that?
Percentage-wise, I'll bet they did. Yeah.
I mean, it was like 75%.
Yeah. Once it goes down, I mean, there's not a lot you can do.
We took a tour in Le Beau, which is a suburb of Kiev, which is not Kiev, Kiel, in northern Germany on the Baltic Sea coast. And so we rode bikes out there. It was about a 10, 15-mile ride around the inlet and going out. At any rate, you go out there, and there's a really nice monument to the World War II submariners. They honor their people just like we do ours. Sure. And they actually had one of the last U-boats, one of the latest models before the war ended, up on dry dock, and you could pay €5 and take a tour of it. Pretty fascinating. You had to be really small. I mean, the bunks were maybe 5'2" in length. So you had to be a little guy to fit in there. And it was basically a death sentence, but these guys were real gung-ho, and they were treated well when they were in port. But the best part of it all, Ken, is I'm walking by the head, and it says in German, Achtung, do not flush below 40 meters.
Okay.
or you'll be exploded upward.
No, touring a German submarine was fascinating. They have one when I was in Chicago living there. They have one at the Museum of Science and Industry, the U-505.
And all the different valves. I mean, there must have been 15 or 20 valves that these guys had to turn. Now it's all, computerized, but
Yeah, back then it was all mechanical, and
all
you're right.
mechanical.
Every inch of that submarine, I'm sure, was jammed with something. There was pipes going everywhere, and I don't know how they did it. Still there, Doc?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. You would think that the captain's quarters would be something spacious. I mean, it was just a
Oh
bunk,
no.
just a little bunk area, cot area, and that was about it.
The
And
only
it was
difference, he
usually
didn't
right.
have to share it. Everybody else had to share their bunks. It was hot bunking in a submarine.
Yeah, it was hot bunking. So you had 2 or 3 shifts, and one shift would get up, another shift would jump in, and remember, they didn't have a shower in there. So if they were underwater for several days, it got a little ripe.
And no air conditioning, so you slept in somebody else's sweat.
Yep.
So imagine that. And they volunteered to do this.
Yeah, and you know that our submariners actually did a lot of damage. We don't talk about it because it's still top secret. We sunk a lot of Japanese and shipping that was supportive of the Japanese. So we had a pretty good run at it too, buddy boy.
Yeah, we did okay with our submarines.
We did really well. You just don't hear about it.
The Germans did the best, though. They really, during that early stages of the war, anyway.
Yeah, the happy times.
The happy times. That's what they called it. That's right.
Yep.
What are we talking about today besides the war?
Well, I have one of my older patients, Lorraine. She passed away this week. We had her in the hospital, and she'd been in and out of the hospital. She had heart failure and kidney failure, and that's a bad combination because, as you know, in order to get rid of the fluid, you either have to use a diuretic, which is hard on the kidneys, or dialysis. And of course, you reach an age where you just won't tolerate dialysis because you have to push the blood through the machine. You have to help push it with your heart. And, people don't want to be on dialysis at age 94, 95. But I did what I usually do, which is I'd usually start hanging crepe, which is an old Irish term for, letting people know that there's been a death or there's going to be a death in the family. And that came from the Irish wake, where they used to hang crepe, or they'd hang, and before there was crepe paper, there was, I guess, black lace or linen, and you'd hang that in the living room, and you'd set the body up in the living room, and you'd have a party. And you'd toast old O'Brien and see him off after a day or two. But so we call it, or I call it, hanging crepe. And I try to give people a little time to adjust. Now, this was not your common situation because she was old, and we all knew that she was getting close to the end. But I think it's important for doctors to give people time to adjust because it is a shock. And if they say, "Doc, do you think we should keep trying?" and I don't think they're ready for that person to die, I'll say, "Yeah, let's give it a day or two. And if she doesn't, or he doesn't turn around, then we'll go ahead and pull the plug, so to speak, and stop treatment." And so that's what we do. But we had her in hospice, and hospice focuses on end of life when you're close to death and the illnesses are taking you over, on the care, the quality, and the well-being of not only the patient but the family. And it involves a lot of pain medication for some people and sedation for others. And some people don't want that. They just want to be left to slip away on their own.
That's kind of where I am. I don't want any heroics.
Dang.
Sorry.
And I had a syringe full of morphine for you.
Planning for the end for me already, are you? Well, you never know with me.
You never know. You never know.
I could go right here during the show.
Yeah, right during the show, you could drop over, and
that would be fun.
Then I'd have to carry the whole thing by myself. I'd really be peed off, dude.
Well, I'm sorry. I'll make sure that I don't expire until after the show.
Call Joe and get him in there right.
Not get somebody here. I'll call somebody before I let go of life.
Now, the hospice care is a little different from palliative care. Palliative care is when you have a serious illness like cancer or heart failure, or kidney failure, and patients in palliative care may get medical care for their symptoms along with support and treatment, and also for the family, focusing on not only the best treatment for their illness, but also the quality of their life and the quality of the family's life. So, but when we lose somebody, no matter how old they are, and of course, I think it's easier when they're older. I know with my parents, especially with my mother, she kept saying, Billy, I wish God would call me. I just don't want to be here anymore." And I understood that. She had a lot of problems. She had bad osteoporosis and everything had broken and been replaced. She was losing her teeth because, as you know, your teeth are embedded in the maxilla and the mandible, which are bones. And when they deteriorate, well, there's nothing to anchor your teeth in. So she had a lot of problems and a lot of pain, and I understood that. And so it was easy to let go because we didn't want to see her suffer. You know what I mean?
Sure, absolutely.
But if somebody's younger, if it's sudden,
car crash is the kind of thing that will just send you into shock right away.
Yeah, and behind me are the 7 stages of grief, and shock is one of the first things that you have happen to you. People say I was speechless. I didn't have any feeling. I didn't know what to do. And then you come to denial, which is, no, this can't be happening. Mom can't be going this early in her life, and that's a normal, healthy reaction. And then you get mad, and you actually get mad at the patient a lot of times. Why were you driving at 10 at night, Mom, when you can't see? Or, why were you kids out? Remember the group of kids up in, I think it was in Largo or Seminole, that were coming home from doing homework together, 16, 17-year-olds, and they were speeding because they were late to get home for their curfew. And they crashed, and I think 4 of the 5 young guys died in that crash. And that's unfortunate. It happens. It's rare, but it happens. And I'm sure the parents reached the point where they said, "Why are you doing this? I'm so mad at you for driving so fast at night. What's the difference if you're late? We'll understand," and that sort of thing. And then you go to the next stage, which is bargaining. God, bring them back, please. What did I do wrong? What can I do to correct this and to undo this? And then you have depression, and we all know what depression is. It's feeling down, feeling hopeless and helpless, and feeling like there's no tomorrow. And I usually will follow people in 6 months to a year, give them time. Now, some of the women seem to take a little bit longer than most of the men. But after a certain period of time, I like to intervene and get them on antidepressants and help get them moving. It's hard to see somebody who's living in pain and agony over the loss of a loved one. I mean, this is part of life. And although we don't like talking about death, this is a fairly new phenomena in our culture as human beings. Not talking about death. 150 years ago, kids had death dolls, and they played death games because they usually had a sibling who died early in childhood, or they saw a lot of tuberculosis around. You had 20% of the population with TB, and so you had a lot of deaths from that. And you had adults and especially the women in childbirth before the antiseptic movement in the 1860s and 70s. The doctors would inadvertently spread strep all around from one pregnant woman who was delivering to another, and they would get serious infections in their uterus. And so this is something new for us. And so we had to add this element of treating the depression and helping people move on from this. And I think that we should be exposed more to death and not less. And I know that a lot of people don't like that, but you watch some of these cop shows, and they don't show anything except the blanket over the body. And I mean, come on, this is part of life. You need to see that you're not going to live forever, Ken.
Well, like you said, the wake used to be held in the house.
Yeah, you'd hold the wake in the house. You'd set the body up in the house.
Yeah, there were no funeral homes to do that for, I guess, back then. So
No.
And you probably made a lunch for everybody coming over.
Well, yeah, you had to have food. I mean, if you're going to get drunk, you got to get them sober enough to get.
He would have wanted us. He would have wanted us to be drinking.
Yeah, my first Irish wake I went to was my father-in-law, and his brothers said, "Hey, Bill, come on outside with us so we can talk." And I went outside, and they all had a pint of whiskey, and they're passing it around.
Killed the pain. Killed that depression.
Kill that pain. Oh, that's one way. I mean, it may not be the healthiest in our current culture, but it worked for the Irish for decades, and I'm sure for a lot of other cultures. And then there's the recovery or the testing. Can I go on without her or him? I'll find it. Can I find another spouse? Can I find another surrogate child or somebody to take care of? Can I get involved in some charities or get back to work? And then there's acceptance. Well, this is part of life, and we move on. This is the way it is. You cannot stay on the planet forever. Nobody leaves here alive. Well, maybe Elon Musk will, but the rest of us won't.
I don't think Elon's going to get out of here alive either, to tell you the truth.
He might make it to Mars and he can die up there.
Well, okay. I'll give you that much.
But I tell this to my patients and friends. I say, look, life's like a party. If it went on forever, it wouldn't be any fun. So at some point you got to go home. I mean, you get tired of the partying. And you hear a lot of people in their 90s say, I don't want to do anymore. I don't want to go on. And then you get into that whole slippery slope of mercy killing, which I'm opposed to, because who makes that decision? And on what basis do you make it? And then you have to have more committees and more work for me because I got to be on one of those stupid committees. Is that wrong, Ken?
No, not at all. You're thinking, you're talking about yourself, but you're thinking of your patient.
Absolutely. You got to think of your patients.
That's right.
Because if you're not, if mama don't get fed, ain't nobody going to get fed. So it's like in the pandemic, you had to take care of the doctors. So we had to ration the mask at the beginning, and you had to kind of stretch a little bit how effective the vaccine would or would not be, because you wanted to cut down on the spread of this and social distancing. We don't know if it worked or not. Now Fauci's saying he's not sure, but I think it helped, and certainly the mask helped. If you had the proper mask, it cut down on the transmission of the disease because it was airborne. But everybody was using the hand sanitizer. And I said at the beginning of the pandemic, somebody said to me, "Oh, what do you think about the hand sanitizer?" I said, "Well, it keeps you busy until we can figure this thing out." And you got to give people something to do. You got to let them feel like they have some power and control over their life. Of course, with that virus, it was.
Well, it's like when they told the kids to get under the desk during a nuclear strike in the 50s. Well, what was that going to do?
Well, it depends on how far away you were from the blast. Now, if you were, let's say if it was a 20 kiloton bomb like they dropped on Hiroshima, and you were 5 or 10 miles away, you were not going to be immediately killed unless you got hit by shards of glass or flying debris. So it made sense to tell the kids to get down. Let's say that McDill is a target now. And
we're all vaporized, all of us.
Well, it depends on whether they use a hydrogen bomb or just a conventional atomic bomb. But remember that the blast, the force of it decreases by the inverse square of the distance from the center of the thing. So, I mean, if you're 30 miles away, you may not be crushed in the blast, but I'll guarantee you there's going to be a lot of stuff flying around. So you better get your head down and your ASS as well, my friend.
So the building, the kids wouldn't have been killed if they were far enough away by the blast, but the building could have collapsed on them. So under the desk was a good spot to be.
Well, plus the windows would be blown out, and things that were not well attached. It's like here in a hurricane. If you don't have the hurricane ties on your roof timbers, you're probably going to lose your roof if it's a category 2 or 3 or up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can take some precautions in situations like that. And the other thing you can do, which of course nobody knew to do in the 40s and 45, was don't go outside, soap and water right away. Don't drink the water. you have to travel outside of the area to get water that wasn't contaminated, or wait for the river for a few good rains. And they say 2 weeks is a rule of thumb to stay inside and to kind of shelter in place to to avoid some of the effects of radiation, Ken. So, I mean, there are things that we can do. People say, well, if there's a nuclear war, we're all gone. I don't think so. I just don't believe that. We've had all kinds of things, Black Plague and everything, and we're still here. We've gone through ice ages where we were down to 100,000 people on the planet, and somehow we made it. So
yeah, well,
we'll be okay. And that's not that I'm saying we need a nuclear war, although I could make an argument for it.
no. We don't want to start arguing for nuclear war. No.
Can't we take at least Russia off the map? I think that would.
Well, I'm okay with that. Sure. Yeah, you take Iran as well. North Korea, Iran, and Russia, but nobody else.
North Korea has a border with Russia, and so does Iran. So, or at least with some of the old Kazakhstan, the Stan states, the Russian USSR states.
Right.
Well,
I think that would do it. That'd be fine. I'd be fine with that.
So, what do you say to people when they lose somebody, Ken?
What do you say?
Yeah, what do you say?
You say you're sorry. Sorry to hear that.
Well, you can say more than that. I know memories aren't the same as having her, but at least it gives you some comfort and something to hold on to. And I'll say with this family, I always give everybody a hug if they'll let me. I think that just touching people is so important when you're in a crisis like that. And so I give everybody a hug that wants one. Of course, the women are right there. They need a hug badly. And those who have a lot of emotions involved, of course, they need some support too. And then you got to say things like, well, time will heal all. No, don't say that right away. Say, let people have their pain. You must feel as if the pain will never end. But with time, let's see what happens, and take all the time you need. You must miss your loved ones and the life you had together. That's important to say to people to reinforce them. And I always ask, did you have a good relationship with your husband, wife, mother, father, daughter, son? And they say yes. And I say, well, I think that is a point of strength that you can carry forward with you. And that seems to help people a lot too. And tell people to share their grief with their family. Don't sugarcoat it for the kids. Don't say, well, grandpa's gone on a long trip or something like that. You say he's died. And when they say, what is death? You explain it the best you can, that we don't go on forever. And there's an end point to our lives, that we stop existing, and kids need to know that. But again, we've gotten away from a lot of that. And, 150 years ago, these are things that we would say. And if you say things like life will go on in the heat of the crisis, people are going to feel even worse. So, try and tell them, look, this is really a terrible thing and a terrible loss. And I'm sure it's hard for you, but I know you can make it, and I'm with you if you need me. Call me if you need something, or rather than do that, though, I'd just say, let's schedule a time that we can get together and talk to each other.
Now, my parents died a month apart. My father had Alzheimer's. We were all expecting that. We could see that one coming years ago. And as he got worse and worse and worse and more out of it, we were all waiting for it. And one day it happened, and I got the call. So I didn't go through that shock and denial and the anger and bargaining part. I did get some depression, of course. My father had just died, and acceptance was quickly thereafter. But a month later, my mom had a massive stroke. Now, none of us were expecting that. And that's where I got all the shock and denial. And I got the anger, too, because she knew she was having problems, but she didn't go to the doctor to help take care of it. She had a stage 4 cancer. She didn't tell anybody in the family she had it. She was just concentrating on taking care of Dad, who has the Alzheimer's, for her last 5 years of her life. So it was a kind of a strange thing. But I started getting physical things happening to me because of Mom. I'm like, my fingers, they all numbed out. I don't know why. They just did. One day I came back and my fingers were all numbed down. I went and talked to my current physician at the time up in Chicago, and she said, "Well, you're just loaded down with stress right now." And I tell you, Doc, by the time I got to the parking lot after that conversation, the numbness was gone. Does that power the mind or what?
Well, what happens when we're upset is we tend to hyperventilate. And when we hyperventilate, we blow off carbon dioxide, which is part of the pH system of the blood. And so when you get the pH high, you have tingling, and you can even have muscle twitches and feel out of it. And so the best thing to do in that situation, if you see someone who is breathing too fast and they're getting numb and tingly, is you give them a paper bag and you put it over their nose and mouth, and you tell them to breathe in and out slowly. And that builds their carbon dioxide back up and helps them get over that. And I'm sure that your physician helped you to feel better, and you slow down your respiratory rate. And
well, just knowing I wasn't all of a sudden seriously ill, I think was kind of a relief,
Well, wait a minute.
Well, this was 10 years ago.
Are you sure?
It's 15 years ago. So now,
oh, okay. You survived. It was
right. Now you got the garbage to pick up here. You got to keep me alive now. So.
Yeah, we got to keep you alive. But I think that this is a normal thing that people go through, and it's okay. And sometimes just sitting down and talking to somebody that you trust, like your doctor or your minister or your rabbi, is helpful. And I would say that just having that ability to express grief is important. And I don't say, they're in a better place or they've gone to God. I mean, that I know that that's something that we have used frequently over the past millennia, but you got to say, well, I don't know what's out there, but we can wonder and we can guess, and that's okay. And I don't say you should be over this by now. I tell people, look, it's going to take time.
Eventually, though, you get to acceptance. Eventually, you realize you have no choice. You just have to move on.
You got to give time, Ken. You got to give time. And grief is necessary. It's just part of our vegetative functions. It's part of emotionally moving the bowels, so to speak, and getting things out. You don't want to bottle all that stuff up, or you'll end up really sick, miserable.
Well, you know what else is essential, Doc? A trivia question. A question about the show today. So
that
we give away
essential.
That's right. It's essential for every Sunday morning. You got a chance to win 2 Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs right now. That's right. He's holding up to the Facebook. If you're not watching on Facebook, you should be. Dr.
Absolutely.
Bill Radio and your Radio MD if you're going to Facebook.
Oh, by the way, Ken, that reminds me, on the Facebook thing, I now have to have at least 100 people that are saying they're following me. So if any of you guys are Facebook savvy, please jump on there and just sign in and look like you're following me, even if you just listen to me on the radio. All right.
We'll click on
Back
that
to the
follow.
question.
Absolutely. We have been talking about death for the last 30 minutes. And the 7 stages of grief, we've mentioned them at least once or twice already, so you've heard it. Tell me the first stage of grief. If you can tell me if you're the first person to tell me the first stage of grief, at 877-969-8600, you will win those 2 Dr. Bill, your Radio MD coffee mugs, the first stage of grief. What is it? First caller with the correct answer at 877-969-8600 picks up those wonderful mugs that Doc is showing us right now.
I'll give you a hint. The first stage of grief is Dr. Bill doesn't do the show anymore on Sunday.
Oh, that would be absolutely a disaster. You're right. I'd be terribly depressed.
All right, guys. We'll be right back. This is Dr. Bill. Got Ken by my side.
Be right back. Don't go anywhere.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza. Or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Ukraine says its forces have struck an ultra-modern Russian warplane stationed on an airbase nearly 370 miles from the front lines after its Western allies allowed Kiev to use their weapons for limited strikes inside Russia. Kiev's main military intelligence service shared satellite photos today it said showed the aftermath of the attack. If confirmed, it would mark Ukraine's first known successful strike on an Su-57 fighter plane, a twin-engine stealth fighter lauded as Moscow's most advanced. Police say a body believed to be that of missing British TV presenter Michael Mosley was found on a Greek island this morning. A police spokesman says the body was found on a rocky coast by a private boat and that formal identification is pending. Mosley went missing on the island of Simi Wednesday afternoon of last week after going for a walk. This is SRN News.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care, 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411. Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical Home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need. For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Copays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandy. 727-577-2220, 727-577-2220.
Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. Surroundtampa.com.
For today, sunshine, high 95. Tonight, patchy clouds, very warm and humid, low 80. For tomorrow, humid, considerable clouds in the morning, then a blend of sun and clouds in the afternoon, high 93. Tomorrow night becoming cloudy, humid, low 79. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
And
go, Doc.
Are we back?
We are.
All right. I thought you'd left me. I was like, what?
No.
Okay, good. I'm happy to
I'm not
hear
gonna leave
that.
you, Doc. I'm not gonna leave you ever.
Oh, thank you, Ken.
I'm
I
a
feel
man.
better now. That's one of the stages of being abandoned by your co-host.
We still
That's
have
a
people
bad
calling
one.
in for the contest. Nobody's won yet. If you want to call in for the contest, by the way, 877-969-8600, the number.
All right. Well, I mean, it's if you're looking on Facebook or YouTube, you can see it right.
It's right there. It's right. First stage is what we're looking for. So,
Oh, give us any stage for God's sake.
at this point, sure.
All right. So my son called me and he wanted to know what the time frame was for tolerance to caffeine. So I looked it up, and somebody actually did a research project on this in 2019, and it's about 30 days. So the ergogenic effects of acute caffeine ingestion start to wane after about 30 days. And I guess ergogenic, which is a new word for me, means the movement and the cognitive functions that are stimulated by caffeine. So there you go. I'm sure you wanted to know, and now you know.
All right, 30 days.
30 days.
Thank you. I've been wondering.
Yeah, and we were just talking about the Ukrainian situation and the F-16s. Ken and I were talking about that. And apparently there's still some pilot training going on, so they haven't really deployed the F-16s yet. But the Ukrainians have used one of their long-range artillery shells or missiles to take out one of the most advanced of the Russian fighter jets. So they're striking back, and the Russians now have a new, what is it, a glide bomb that's harder to detect, and so they're hitting the second largest city in the Ukraine with that. So we got to step up to the plate here and get these folks going, or we're gonna be in World War III shortly.
Right. Well, it's these glide bombs. They come from planes. Obviously, they have to drop them from a plane.
Yeah.
And so that's why they need the F-16s up there to take the planes out. They got to get going on that.
Absolutely. I mean, if you don't get going on that, then you're basically throwing the Ukrainians under the bus. And that makes no sense because this is a democracy. And people say, well, but they're a corrupt democracy and, blah, 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 blah. But they have fought the Russians for millennia. Since Russia became an expansionistic country, the Ukrainians have been fighting back.
They do a pretty good job.
And they've done a good job. They even
considering their technology.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the Ukrainians.
They're actually building some quite inventive drones these days. So
some of my best friends are Ukrainian.
Are they really?
Our cleaning people at the office in our house, they're Ukrainians.
Oh, okay. I've never met an Ukrainian.
Oh, I know several.
Native, not native anyway, but
yeah, I know a bunch of them. Any rate, in the pandemic, the country went crazy. People were trying to buy things like boats and RVs and different high-priced toys to be socially distant, but still get out and have some fun. Because, you can go out on the water, and as you know, the virus is impossible to catch outdoors, the COVID-19 virus. Because of the wind shear, and you have to get a certain amount of if somebody comes up and coughs in your face from a foot away, that's different. But being outside, so now all of a sudden that market has crashed. Did you know that?
No, but it doesn't surprise me with inflation and all that.
Yeah, so this is a good time if you want to get a boat or an RV cheap. This is a good time to go after it. And there are some companies that have formed, like Freedom Boat, which is a boat share club. And Brunswick, the largest maker of recreational boats in the country, actually bought this entity, this boat share. So I sent in a request to talk to somebody there and try to find out what the price is. I think it's about $5,000 to $7,000 to join. I don't know how much that gets you or what their inventory is, what their fleet looks like, but they got a bunch of places around the county here, around the 2 counties, around the 10 counties, actually. So there's
Are you actually buying a piece of a boat? I mean, it's like a timeshare for boats kind of thing, or is it just you rent them?
It's just a club, and you don't, only thing you have to pay for is your gasoline. So that's not bad. But I haven't seen the contract, but if you're interested, I will take a closer look at that. But if you're interested in buying, this is the good time to do it. And there are a lot of pretty boats out there that have had little or no use. I mean, boats mostly sit.
Yeah.
98% of the time, little people like me who buy a boat, it just sits there. And so with all the maintenance and upkeep, it probably cost us $1,000 or $2,000 every time we went out. That was just ridiculous.
Well, they say the happiest day of your boat ownership is the day you buy it and the day you sell it. So,
well, what we did, Ken, is we traded it. We traded it with a pool contractor to redo our pool at our house before we sold it.
Oh, all right.
And so we patched we took it, sandblasted it out and emptied it and patched the concrete, remarcited it and tiled it. I even helped doing some of the marciting and tiling work.
Of course you did. You like that stuff. You like doing that.
Oh yeah, down there with my trowel and everything. And then we put in a new pump and a new pool heater and new plumbing, and so it turned out to be a good deal for us, but we just weren't using it. And I think that's what happens to a lot of people. The novelty wears off. So this boat share club is not a bad idea, and it's certainly a lot less costly than owning your own boat.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe we should get a group policy or a group membership for the radio station.
I'll talk to the powers that be.
Yeah, see if we can get that going, would you?
Sure.
So the Israelis have rescued 4 more people, and I saw one of the intelligence officers who formerly worked on this from Israel, and I guess they lost one of their top guys in this raid. But these people were being held above ground in a residential area, and the thought by Hamas and the people that were doing the kidnapping was that, well, the Israelis won't attack in a high residential area, and if they do, that'll give us some more fodder for the press to badmouth the Israelis and say what horrible mass murderers they are. Well, you know what? You steal my family and hide them in your house, I'm coming in. I don't care who dies.
Yeah.
But
the problem is they could have conceivably shot the hostages and just said that the Israelis killed them when they came in.
Well, but the intelligence guys, they actually went in plain clothes. They went in as Palestinians, and they killed all the guards.
Oh, it was clandestine, more clandestine.
Yeah.
This
was a black ops situation.
Oh, okay, that's different. Yeah.
And then followed up with with the military guys, and I'm sure there were some grenades that were tossed around, and a few people got in the way, and of course it turned into hundreds of people killed by Israelis in the latest raid, and 250,000 Palestinians are dead. Where are the bodies? Where's the biomass? It's like these people say there were 20 million Indians in North America when the Europeans got here. Oh, really? Where the hell's the body mass? Where are the remnants? Where are the relics?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hide that many bodies.
It is. It gets tough. I mean, even after 300 or 400 years, you're going to find bones somewhere.
And your nose will tell you right away where they are.
Absolutely. So this is a big deal for the Israelis that they were able to bring some more of their people home. They say that there's still about 100 people that are being held hostage, and they think maybe 40 or 50 are dead already. So from their intelligence, but I don't know. What are you going to do?
Israel can't stop. They have to go all the way with this.
Oh, they got to take it to the end.
Yeah.
They've got to wipe Hamas off the map. And if that means killing some, if there's some collateral damage, well, that's war.
Always sad, but it always happens. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, look at what we did in World War II. I mean, we firebombed Dresden and different cities in Germany, and we firebombed Tokyo and different cities in Japan. And then we dropped a couple of nukes on them too. So, and if you think those were all military targets, you better think again. There were a lot of civilians, a lot of children and women that were injured and killed in those raids. But that's war.
Yeah. I always thought it was odd that people would be so sympathetic for the 200,000 or so that were killed in the atomic bomb blasts, but have actually no knowledge of how many people were killed, like you say, at Dresden or Tokyo with conventional firebombing. Hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah.
Everybody only feels sorry, apparently, for the nuclear blast victims. I never understood that, but that is war, like you say. That is war. You're going to have civilian deaths. You just are. The U.S. is as surgical as you can be when it comes to war, and we still have civilians hurt and killed when we take some action, at times anyway.
So it looks like we lost our video stream on Facebook and YouTube. I don't know what happened, but any rate.
Well, you're still here. I'm still seeing you.
Yeah, we're still here, and we'll just have to make the best of it. We're towards the end of the show anyway.
Yeah, we got about 5 minutes left or so, whatever.
So now we're back on air and also on YouTube and Facebook. But now this is what I wanted to tell you about. You remember last week we talked about Scheinbaum, the communist female Jewish president recently elected in Mexico?
Yes.
Their stock market fell 6% the day after she was elected.
Not business friendly? Is that a problem? Is she not business friendly?
She's a communist. What do you want?
Oh, okay. Well, that's no wonder.
No wonder. I mean, it can,
You're not going to have any companies left there.
They want to destroy free enterprise. They want to destroy class. They want to destroy, I mean, they basically want to destroy society. And we see these protesters who are being pushed on by anarchists and communists when it comes to the Israel-Palestinian war, the pro-Israelis in the United States. They had 30,000 people surrounding the White House yesterday.
30,000 surrounding the White House. I didn't hear about this yet, so this is news to me.
But still not as big as Trump's last rally. You gotta love it, buddy boy. You gotta love it.
Man, I tell you, I don't know. I'm ready to check out, Doc. So
you're ready to check out?
It's ready to check out. I've been reading about Social Security and Medicare going broke in the next 10 years, and
oh, so you're going to go ahead and get your money now?
Yeah, I get my money now, and then when it runs out,
check out permanently.
I check out permanently when the money runs out from the Social Security and Medicare.
So then the judge in Trump's hush money trial flags Facebook posts that claimed he had insight into jury deliberations. In other words, that he might have interfered with the jury deliberations.
Yeah, I read that. That could do it. That could turn it all around.
Yeah. And then last but not least, we're getting near the end of the show here. Pat Sajak did his last show Friday.
Yes, I heard about that. Yeah.
He actually, for those of you who don't know, Pat Sajak was a 40-year host of The Wheel of Fortune, which is one of the most popular shows in the country. The guy made 70, 80 million doing the show and investing. And he gave a really nice farewell speech. Now, this was filmed back in April. They filmed the shows ahead of time. But he was very gracious and was so thankful. And I mean, you could tell that he was about to break down in tears, but he held it together. And I thought it was really kind of him. And he said he always welcomed people walking up to him and speaking with him. And he loved meeting all the people, and he had a good time doing the show. And
he had a great job. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's going to continue on acting. He's going to do some summer stock and some local theater. I think he's going to start in Hawaii. And so he's not quitting his showbiz career yet, but I'm sure that the big money days and the pressure and all that will be gone for him.
He only worked one day a week.
Well, why bother?
They filmed all 5 shows for the week on one day.
Well, they're only, he's only on air 30, 40 minutes each
That's
show.
right, exactly. They were going to strike the set and put it back up the next day. So they do the whole week they film it all in one day, and he's done for the rest of the week. He had a great job.
And they just go back to the wardrobe room and change and come back out, and Vanna puts on a new dress and new color lipstick and do the next one.
Exactly.
I mean,
what a great
pretty
job.
much a machine.
Terrific job to have if you can get it. Yeah. And Vanna, I guess Vanna's going to stay with Ryan Seacrest, who's taking over the show now.
Mm-hmm. Vanna actually lived in the house in Atlanta that I bought, and it was condemned, and I rehabbed it. She lived with a couple of guys named Gordy and Barry Watts in their house near Brookhaven, and they had a go-go club down in Buckhead, and so she lived there for, I don't know, 6 months or a year, and then she went out to California and made her fame and fortune. So I was treading right where Vanna White was treading decades ago. How about that?
It's a very special story. Yes.
Yeah, it kind of warms your heart, doesn't it?
She had a great job. She didn't even have to talk, and she made
and they
millions
say
of
she's
dollars.
just the nicest person.
What's the complaint about? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that she doesn't want to give the job up, because what does it take?
Yeah, you show up one day a week, turn letters.
And I don't think it's some money so much as she just wants to stay active and stay in something. And there you go.
Oh, well.
And they get to travel.
Yes, exactly. The show goes everywhere. So, and it's free clothing.
Oh, by the way, Stormy Daniels is still upset.
What's Stormy upset about now?
She's upset because she still owes Trump $600,000 in legal fees, and she wants to figure out some way to get rid of it. Well, I think probably the smart money would have been to negotiate with him before the trial. and get another payoff.
Yeah, he's not going to do you any favors now. No.
No, I think those days are over. I think she messed that one up bad. I don't know who's advising her, but they should all be locked up.
Lock them up.
Lock them all up.
That's right. Got about 2.5 minutes here, Doc. So
2.5. Huh?
What do you got to talk about for 2.5 minutes?
For 2.5, did we talk about the elections in India?
We haven't mentioned that at all.
Well, Modi got back in. Modi is the prime minister. They have a parliamentary government since they were a stepchild of the English. And so that's the government they adopted. But Modi did not get the number of seats that he was anticipating. So he's got to make some deals with some of the other parties. And I guess he's not going to have quite as much power as he had. And from what I can tell, the main thing is, guess what? The economy. Inflation and the little guy on the street having a hard time getting by. And so it's worldwide. It's not just the United States.
And that's what's going to come down to here in November, I think, is going to be the economy.
Most people.
It's always the economy, stupid, as Bill Clinton people said.
Yeah, I think that the pandemic and Trump losing to Biden was a unique situation in history. You know, it was just a fluke. And I think that if it hadn't been for a few episodes that occurred when Trump was leading us through the pandemic and people's natural reaction at the leadership for not preventing this, which of course would have been impossible unless you'd started 10 years earlier.
Well, yeah, of course. But it is just the media fired up a lot of that stuff and kept it going.
And, you know, I've heard my liberal friends say, how can you blame Fauci for this? I'm like, what are you talking about? He was one of the two principal architects of the gain of function to make these viruses more potent. And he worked with the bat lady doctor from China. She was over here, worked here. He went over there. We've helped fund it. And, you know, so come on, he has responsibility here. But
really?
I mean,
yeah.
He'll never be held responsible.
And he pretty much said he made the whole mask thing up at the beginning anyway, so.
Well, that's because he didn't read the whole study, but the studies actually did support the mask thing. And initially he said, you don't need a mask. And then when masks came around, he said, you need a mask. And then when it was no longer politically correct to use masks, he said, oh, you don't need masks. So
Doc, you got about 10 seconds here. You want to say goodbye and say hello to the folks or give a phone number?
Hello, goodbye, 727-384-6411. Love you guys.
Yeah, we're out of here. Thanks, Doc.